Dr. Richard Urso.
Hello, everybody. We have a big afternoon in store, and thank you. And we wanted to start this afternoon's session with two very special guests. You might recognize both of them. As you all know, we are in the midst of battling the Chinese coronavirus. And as I said yesterday, it's no mystery to anyone here. And the idea of believing in liberty is also having responsibility. And so everyone here knows that you come and you take a risk, and you know exactly what those risks are. Dr. Simone Gold and Dr. Urso, the last couple months, especially in June or July, came out so boldly, and they were part of America's Frontline Doctors. Do you remember that over the summer? And they're wearing their America's Frontline Doctor gear, and they spoke out against lockdowns, and they just wanted to really, in my opinion, courageously and factually balance the conversation against what was happening. And so, Dr. Gold, I want to start with you. You really set social media on fire when you came out and your group came out. You're the organizer of America's Frontline Doctors. Introduce yourself and also tell us why all of a sudden you were fired from your job.
First of all, I'm so happy that you're doing TPUSA. It's such an important event. I just want to, right? And I was so worried that this, it would be an online event, and thank God that it's not. It's so difficult. I'm so sorry everybody had to be outside earlier, and thank God you're inside, and we're going to switch. But, the fact that you're doing this event at all is amazing. You have to push back in your lives on rules that people are putting out there and do what you can to push back. And I know you've taken a lot of heat for it. We as scientists, we as doctors know that these prohibitions by public health bureaucrats are unnecessary and unhelpful. We know this because we've had 9-10 months of this situation already. Areas that have not locked down, as you heard from Kristi Noem yesterday, Governor Noem, South Dakota is fine. But it's not the only example. Sweden also did not lock down. Areas that don't have masks or social distance, some of the poorest places on the planet in Africa that don't have any social distancing at all, have death rates about 1% of what we have in America. So you standing up and saying no is a proper course, and I just want to give you props for that.
Thank you, and thank you to all the students that came from across the country who also stood boldly for that. And look, we made the decision to actually practice what we preach. We believe in liberty and freedom. We love this country, and we could have done this entirely digitally, and I'll tell you what, our lives would have been a lot easier the last couple weeks, and our staff would have been spared of a lot of sleepless nights. And I hope you guys all know the Turning Point USA staff that are wearing those staff badges, they have not slept in the last couple days, especially last night dealing with all the curveballs. But we did it for a reason, because we know that a lot of you are going to make friendships for a lifetime, and we human beings are built for contact. You can watch it on a live stream, and for everyone watching on the live stream, hello. But I think all of you here are having a much better experience than just watching it in a living room, would you say?
And I'm just wondering, how the kids would feel about, maybe staying, exceeding what the public health bureaucrats are saying, how many people could come in. What do you all think about that?
Again, I would, as I said earlier, I would love to let them in. We're in county property. I said this earlier. It's no different than being at the local aquatic center or library. We are at the mercy of the county. We're thankful they're allowing us to do the event at all, but they're in complete control of this. This is not a private venue. This is a government building, okay? And so you guys know me. If I did, I would have people everywhere if I could, okay? So we're trying to do the best we possibly can, but it's county health officials and county board. And again, I'm trying to nuance my remarks because the lights could turn out suddenly and we'd have no events, right? And so we have to be both factually critical and also thankful we're able to do an event at all. However, I think it's nonsense that we can't have more people in. Okay, so Dr. Urso, this these lockdowns the last couple months have had real health consequences. Can you talk about the human cost of lockdowns? Because the framing of the debate has been, if you care about lockdowns, you care about people. If you don't want lockdowns, you don't care about people. Can you talk about that?
Yes, thank you guys. I'm so happy to be here. It's so exciting because your energy helps all of us. We love this. So I'm gonna address this by just saying this. Mass distancing and lockdowns were a bad idea from the beginning. From the beginning. It was a lie from the beginning, okay? It was never a good idea. And here's why, okay? Here's why. The first estimates were from Neil Ferguson, who basically said that 7 million people would be dead by now, I think worldwide, or the numbers were horrible. But the guy has made a history out of overestimating pandemics. So he's never been right. And those were the things that we used to drive public policy here in the U.S. So again, mass distancing, lockdowns, wait for a vaccine was a terrible policy from the beginning. As you look at Sweden, they've done a wonderful job. So it doesn't make any more sense now than it did back then. That was not a good model to begin with. It was a lie from the beginning. So it doesn't make any more sense to do it now. Why is that? Because we have early treatment that actually works quite well. And when I say that, I mean there's 4 parts. There's inflammation, infection, blood clots, and breathing problems. We can treat all of those things as an outpatient. There's nothing to stop us from giving something for breathing problems. We use the same medicines we use for asthma. If we have somebody who has inflammation, have you ever heard of anybody being hospitalized for inflammation? Absolutely not. So you've got to look at this in parts. The disease was manageable right from the beginning. So that's one of the things why this never made sense. It still doesn't make sense. And we need to stop giving those orders to our public and let people decide for themselves how they want to go about their lives. Because this disease has very little, especially on you guys, very little chance of hurting you.
And so, Dr. Gold, I'm going to talk about something, and our live stream might disappear at any moment, just so everyone's clear. You guys might be the only people that hear this, because we're about to talk about something that is illegal to talk about on the social media kind of tech censor, where we're going to talk about the vaccine. I want to talk about hydroxychloroquine. So we might have to say goodbye to the live stream at some point, but we're going to talk about it anyway. And look, also, somebody said something to me that I think is probably true. I think this is the biggest gathering on the planet right now, so that's kind of cool. So, all right, so Dr. Gold, let's start with, over the summer, you were one of the leading voices talking about hydroxychloroquine. Can you talk about why you talked about, you spoke out about that? I can say non-scientifically from personal experience, every person that I've recommended that to has had a favorable treatment with that. Can you talk about that from a medical and doctor perspective?
Yeah, I'll do this as quickly as I can. So I'm a board-certified emergency physician. I've been practicing in the ER for more than 20 years. And when COVID hit, there were patients in front of me that needed a treatment that I knew worked. We knew it worked because since February, we had seen studies from across the world showing it worked. In February, in fact, China made giving hydroxychloroquine, and there they use chloroquine, part of their national treatment. In March, India did the same thing. There's been studies all over the world. At this moment in time, there's more than 195 studies showing that hydroxychloroquine works. I myself have prescribed it for many patients, and it works. It always works if you give it early or preventively. Sometimes you still get sick, but it's very, very mild. It even works late, although not quite as well. So I'm seeing the patients in front of me, and I'm being told by the governor of the state and by my own medical directors that I couldn't use this drug. Nothing like this had ever happened in medicine, where another doctor said to a doctor, you can't give this ordinary medication. By the way, this medication has been FDA approved for 65 years. It derives from quinine, which George Washington gave his troops, quinine found in tree barks. And it's been given billions of times across the planet. Every country uses it. Countries that use chloroquine very widely, countries that have malaria endemically, Africa is a good example, have COVID death rates that are 1% of Western nations where we can't get our hands on hydroxychloroquine. So I was seeing the lies and the disinformations. I think some of what I'm saying is news to a lot of people. But it absolutely works. It absolutely saved lives. It's not a question. There have been Senate hearings on the subject. Lots of doctors have testified to this fact. There was no chance that we were not, as ethical doctors who took the Hippocratic Oath, going to use this medicine. So what's very bewildering is it's a certainty. I know you only spoke anecdotally, but I'm telling you as an absolute fact is that it's effective. So at the same time, they're telling you that there's a 65-year-old medicine that you shouldn't take because it's not safe, even though we've given it to more than 1 billion people on the planet over 65 years. By the way, you should take this other thing that's 3 months old with brand new technology that hasn't had animal studies published. Right? It makes no sense, and you cannot substitute anybody else's thinking for your own thinking. Does that make sense to you?
And so, just to reiterate, hydroxychloroquine, have you seen it help people that were struggling in the fight?
There's no question that hydroxychloroquine saves lives. No question.
Yeah! And that is something that we're not allowed to talk about. And just...
May I just jump in? So, I'm sorry, I'm passionate about this subject. So there are suits going on in the Netherlands called a crime. There's a guy who filed a lawsuit, a doctor, calling it a crime against humanity, that hydroxychloroquine has been limited. And there was doctors who went before the Senate 3 weeks ago calling this an evil perpetrated upon the world.
And it's cheap, it's widespread, it's been around for a long period of time. And so, Dr. Urso, can you talk about how doctors have been silenced in the midst of all of this? Because this has been one of the most troubling trends, is how people in your profession that spoke out against lockdowns, that spoke out against any one of the Fauci orders. Do we like Fauci or not? I don't know if we like Fauci. Is all of a sudden it was a complete and total silencing. Can you talk about how in the medical profession people were losing their jobs, like Dr. Gold and others? Have we ever seen anything like this?
No, and I want to go back to Fauci, if you don't mind, because one of the things that he's done is he stopped early treatment, period. Doesn't matter what it is. And we treat early no matter what. So if somebody has this disease, just like any other disease, we want to get on top of it quickly. So to tell doctors early on, people were so fearful to treat this disease. People were losing their license. I was sanctioned by my board. As you know, Dr. Gold lost her job. Many of us who spoke out early, it was a very lonely road. We were basically shoveling against the tide. It was very difficult. People were telling us not to do it. And it didn't make any sense because, as I said before, we always treat, if we can't cure HIV, right? But we can mitigate the damage. We can improve disease tolerance. We can work on prevention. There's many factors that go into treating patients, not just one. Hydroxychloroquine was foundational because, as I will tell you right now, it works against every respiratory RNA virus to prevent any RNA virus, even the flu. It works very well, actually, against all of them. So we need a multi-drug therapy. Makes a lot of sense because we have respiratory distress, we have other things that we have to treat besides just the pathogen itself. So it's been really difficult to sit there and tell patients who are sitting in your office crying, you can't breathe, to go home. So that's all I have to say about that. Just makes sense.
So Dr. Gold, can you talk about this as well? You lost your job. Why did you lose your job? It seems like there was a blacklisting that started in the medical community.
Yeah, so I wrote a short little book called I Do Not Consent, My Fight Against Medical Cancel Culture. So cancel culture, I just want to say that I wrote it because people were curious what happened to me, but I really wrote it exactly for the people in this audience and people outside who I'll talk with afterwards, because I give you tools how to recognize propaganda in real time. People say to me, well, you're a doctor, you can know. By the way, that's not true. Most of the doctors also have drunk the Kool-Aid. It's not about age and it's not about education. It's about a structured way of thinking that teaches you how to recognize propaganda in real time. So that book, My Fight Against Cancel Culture, I Do Not Consent, will explain it. I was fired specifically because I was prescribing hydroxychloroquine and zinc for patients who need it. By the way, every time I did that, I personally called the patient, and as an ER doctor, that's a little unusual, but I personally called. All of them got better so quickly, which is exactly what I've seen over and over and over again. It's what the studies show. It's a crime against humanity.
So you lost your job because you started to speak out, and you were treating patients successfully.
Yeah, I was one of those healthcare workers that was being cheered on until I was fired.
And so, Dr. Urso, can you also let's talk about the thing that will definitely get us in trouble, the vaccine. And completely, I'm not going to take the vaccine. I'm not going to tell what other people to do, because I'm going to tell other people to make their own decisions. And if you think that's the best decision for you, then absolutely go do that. That's not for me to impart that. I'm just going to say what I'm going to do. Similar to if you don't feel comfortable going to an event, don't go to an event. But can you just give a medical perspective? Are you in support of this? Are you against this? Do you have questions about it? Help us unpack this.
So everything we do involves risk and reward. Okay, so in this case, we've got to look at the data set. And we know this disease affects different populations in different ways. Under 20, it's 1 in 33,000 infection fatality rate. Under 50, 1 in 5,000. Under 70, 1 in 200. Over 70, 1 in 19. So first thing we've got to do is assess the risk. And what I would say is it's personal choice, right? So we shouldn't be mandated to have vaccines. Now, what about the data on this vaccine? All right, this is really important. You guys nearly need to hear this, okay? So you know there's thousands of patients that have had the vaccine, correct? Like 44,000 for Pfizer, 22 had the vaccine, 22 didn't. All right. There's a really important process where sometimes when you have a vaccine, you actually rev up your immune system and you start making bad antibodies. And so what happens is when you get the virus itself, instead of helping you, you're more likely to suffer very bad consequences because you had the vaccine. This is a known thing. This is why we do not have any type of vaccine for cold viruses, because it's called pathogenic priming or antibody-dependent enhancement. Has a good name, but it basically means that the antibodies you make actually make you more likely to suffer when you actually get the virus. So here's why I say I'll be very cautious as we move forward. I don't like even calling it vaccine. It needs to be called experimental vaccine, okay? Experimental, okay? So what we have is, okay, I want somebody to give me a number. How many people have had the vaccine for Pfizer and then had the virus? How many people? Because that's that critical group. Does anybody want to venture an answer? 11,000. Good, that's 11,000. He said 11,000. The answer is 9. 9. No, 9. 9. 9 people have had the vaccine and then had the virus. What's the most important group when we study as we move forward? The people who've had the vaccine, because this is where we failed in SARS, MERS, and every other cold virus. The reason we failed, it's not the vaccine. It's the response to the vaccine making bad antibodies, and we don't know until we get the virus.
If I could just jump in there. So what Dr. Urso is saying is that if we give millions of people the vaccine, we don't yet know what the effect is going to be when they encounter the COVID-19 virus. In the past, when they've given coronavirus vaccines to animals, when the animals did fine after the vaccine, but when they got exposed to the virus in the wild, many of them, I don't know if it was most or many or all, I think it was all of them, they were cats or ferrets, died. It's called pathogenic priming. This must be answered. The reason we're bringing all this science information to you, and by the way, this thing, pathogenic priming, is also known as antibody-dependent enhancement. Even though you've never heard of it, it's a thing. You can find it on Wikipedia. It's a thing, okay? So coronaviruses are very difficult to make vaccines for this reason. So we feel it's very irresponsible to be releasing this to millions and millions of people until that question's been answered. It is still in its experimental stage. It's being authorized to use as an experimental treatment. If you want to sign yourself up to be part of a medical experiment, or your parent or your grandparent, that's their choice. I would say, as a physician honoring my Hippocratic oath and speaking on behalf of all of America's frontline doctors who came to a position on this, we think the vaccine is utterly prohibited if you're under age 20. Let me just finish. We think it's prohibited under age 20 because the risks are unknown and the risk of death is so low. The survival rate in the under 20 age group is 99.997%. How can you take an unknown risk of this pathogenic priming? And I haven't even gotten into the question of the fertility question. There's a question if the vaccine can affect the growth of the placenta. These questions must be answered. We feel it's absolutely prohibited under age 20. Between 20 and 49, your risk of surviving COVID, if you get it, is 99.98. For that reason, we also think it's prohibited. These are people still in their childbearing years. We don't know, again, the pathogenic priming or the effect on the placenta. Over age 50 to 69, your chances of surviving COVID is 99.5. We feel in that group it should be discouraged, the vaccine, because there are other safer treatments that have been out for decades, but it should be your choice at that point. Over age 69, the odds of surviving COVID is almost 95%. We also feel that early treatment is better, but again, that would be up to personal preference, personal choice, because certainly there is a close to a 5% chance of death with COVID in that age group, and if you decide vaccine is better for you than early treatment, that should be your choice. But under no circumstances would I let my children, I'm a mom, get this vaccine. And by the way, may I say, I want to say very clearly, because I've been misunderstood, I'm a person who's had influenza vaccines every year. As an ER physician, it's required. I've had hepatitis shots, fully vaccinated. My children have been vaccinated, all right? This is different. This is an experimental vaccine with unknown effects, including potential effects on fertility.
So, Dr. Gold, I think one of the challenges is a lot of people in this room are going to be forced to get the vaccine. Is anyone here going to a school where they're going to force you to do that? A couple hands. Well, some people, and that's one option. Is there any legal recourse, or are you able to speak to that at all?
Yeah, thank you actually so much for asking that question. So after being on this journey of trying to bring truth to the American people for several months, I've come to the sad decision that our government can't really help us, and it is going to be up to the people to make a difference. Now, I've given you a way. It's true. We've given you a way to make a difference. So we've set up a site called stopmedicaldiscrimination.org. The reason it has that name is there's going to be a lot of discrimination against people that go against the public health narrative, right? That choose to say, I don't want to be vaccinated. We want to stop that kind of discrimination. Discrimination is going to come in the form of universities requiring it, employers requiring it, and the first one I think that's going to come is airlines requiring it. I believe if airlines get together and do this the way they've done with masks, it's going to shut down American freedom and human freedom, I think, forever. It's critical. You must go to stopmedicaldiscrimination.org or smdpetition.org. We need at least 1 million signatures. We're going to go to the airlines with those signatures and tell them their life is going to be difficult, costly, expensive, when they're going to have a fight on their hands, when they see millions of Americans are not going to comply. This is what you can do. People ask, young kids especially, what can I do? What can I do? I'm telling you, every one of you has some social network. Some of you have 10 and some of you might have 3,000. You must get stopmedicaldiscrimination.org signatures. We will take it on behalf of you and push back on the airlines. And when we push back on the airlines, we will be able to push back successfully in other areas.
Dr. Urso, in closing, can you just talk about what this year has really taught you about the state of the medical profession in America? Because you've been in for years before this.
So I've done drug development, been involved in a drug that actually made it through the FDA, and all I can say is what I see is the politics and the finances have polluted our NIH, our FDA, and our CDC. And what we're seeing is that that's going over into the academic institutions. The hospitals have basically employed most of the physicians in the country, and it's made a huge difference on how people will speak out for their patients. They're afraid of losing their jobs, and I think that's made a huge difference on why it's a few that are up here rather than many. But to go to this long story of the CDC, they have multiple patents that they actually receive money on. The FDA gets 45% of their money from Big Pharma. The NIH, same thing, multiple patents. So what's happened is the fox is watching the hen house, and we've got to find a way to get past that.
So Dr. Gold, in closing, what has this year really taught you about the medical profession, and what can everyone do? You mentioned the petition, and you mentioned the real risks for people, you said 65 and older, right? And we're very upfront, and everyone knows those risks, but for people our age, should schools be open? Should activities be resumed? And should we tolerate basically the cancellation of an entire generation?
So over 69, your chances of surviving COVID-19 are about 95%. Schools should never have been closed. It was the greatest mistake of this whole endeavor. When I got the first notice from my alma mater, we got a notice in the email that it was being closed. I knew that this was a big lie because it made no scientific sense to close down a place where young people were, because we always knew from the very beginning, from China, right, from December, January, we knew that this didn't really affect kids. We've only found out more strongly that that's the case. It's a crime. You know, nothing in life is risk-free. I thought Tucker Carlson's talk last night was incredible. I hope people really took it in. There's nothing that's risk-free. I happen to think college is worthless at this point, almost always. And I'm saying that as a person who has 2 doctorate degrees, all right? So it's not as though I devalue education. But for most people, when you're 18 years old, you're smart enough, you're hardworking enough, you can go out and you can make a future. And you don't believe it because you've been told that, you know, that's not the way. So if you want, I've heard you say this, if you want to pursue like an engineering degree or something like a doctor, of course you need more education. But short of that, I think it's poison. And it pains me to say that. It pains me to say that. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else they can do.
Fight.
I have one comment that I want Dr. Gold to touch on. There's a strategy they're going to use to try to get you to take this vaccine. They're going to tell you that if you take the vaccine, that you're going to help your grandmother. You want to talk about that?
Thank you so much. There's a feeling, you know, earlier on they're saying, you know, wear your mask to protect you, and then they changed it. They flipped the public relations aspect of it, wear a mask to protect the other person. First of all, that's socialism, all right? They're getting you adjusted to socialism. I want you to know that there's really no end in sight after the vaccine, all right? You all, in the most positive sense, you're like, well, all right, I'll just take the vaccine because, you know, it's whatever, I'll just do it. You think your life will get back to normal. It's very clear to me as an adult, your life is not going to get back to normal after the vaccine, all right? First of all, the Surgeon General just came out this week and admitted it, right on Good Morning America, said that the vaccine doesn't stop transmission. Those are his words, not mine. In other words, it's more like a drug to treat the symptoms. It's not actually stopping the transmission, meaning you need to wear the masks, meaning you need to do social distancing, and you have to say to yourself at age 18, why am I listening to these people? So just know what's going on and make the best decision for yourself. America's Frontline Doctors has a lot of scientific information if you want about lockdowns and masks and vaccines, if you want to educate yourself.
Charlie, can I make one final comment about that? So what they're going to tell you is, my mask protects you, your mask protects me. My vaccine protects you, your vaccine protects me. My food nourishes you, and your food nourishes me. As you see, there's no logic to any of this. There's no science behind my mask protects you, my vaccine protects you, my food doesn't nourish you. It doesn't make sense, okay? None of that is true.
A lot of wisdom. Everybody, let's give it up for these courageous doctors. Well done, guys. Thank you. Hey everybody, before we get to the next speaker, please consider supporting us at tpusa.com/donate. These events are expensive and it's hard to run, especially in the times of the Chinese coronavirus. They are made possible by your support. It's tpusa.com/donate. As soon as this event is over, we're going back to work to save the country thanks to your support.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Michael Knowles.
Man, pyrotechnics. What's going on? Thank you very much. It is so good to be here. I love the pyrotechnics. I feel very much in danger. We're so in danger here, not just the pyrotechnics, but there's more than 3 people in the room. You're not allowed to do that. That's totally against the rules. Very, very bad. But oh, you're too kind. You are too kind. Thank you very much. This, you know, if I had to pick any place to be to celebrate the 279th day of 15 Days to Slow the Spread, it would be right here with all of you. It is, yeah. This is the longest 15 days I ever had in my life. Oh, man. It just keeps going on. And the logic behind it is the craziest logic. I just can't figure it out. Because at the beginning, you see, we needed to flatten the curve. Remember that? And then once we flattened the curve, then we needed to still lock down to find a cure. You know that? And then, then we found a cure, but we still needed to lock down forever for some reason. I don't know why. No Thanksgiving, no Christmas, no New Year's, definitely no Student Action Summit. This is positively criminal. We are going to the gulags, my friends. Get ready. That's where we're spending 2021. How did that happen? How did that happen? In just 9 months, society has been turned completely upside down. Now, if you don't wear some filthy cloth mask on your face, if you do not walk out in a bubble, like Bubble Boy, anywhere you walk in the world, people look at you as if you're the strange one, as if you are some kind of crazy conspiracy theorist. If you follow the advice that Dr. Fauci gave at the start of this whole virus, you remember that? I know. Listen, presidents come and go. Fauci is here forever. That man, I think he was here in 1620. I think he's going to be here in 2225. Dr. Fauci, early on, though, to his credit, what he said was, the masks are basically stupid. There's no reason to wear them. They give you a false sense of security. Don't do it. And then 5 seconds later, he said, you all have to wear the masks. You can never take them off. They actually don't give you a false sense of security, though. What they do is the opposite. They give you a false sense of anxiety. You see the masks everywhere. You feel like you are living through the Black Death instead of what we're really living through, which is much closer to a strong flu season with a 99.7% chance of survival. That is the reality of the situation. I feel like I am a frog being slowly boiled in water. This is something Charlie and I actually talk about a lot. There's this scene that comes to mind from the last 9 months, certainly since the election, which is, it's a scene from the book The Sun Also Rises. Maybe you've read it in school. Scene is very simple. One guy says to another guy, he says, how did you go bankrupt? And the other guy responds, he said, 2 ways, gradually, then suddenly. That's how you go bankrupt. Gradually, you lose a little money, you don't take notice, you lose a little more, you lose a little more, and then you're broke. That is how the left destroys our country. Gradually and then suddenly. For decades, we've been in the gradually phase. The radical left infiltrated and hollowed out our universities. They hollowed out our entertainment media, which actually used to be fairly conservative, believe it or not. They completely dominated the mainstream news media. They grew the federal bureaucracy, which they actually always controlled, but now these technocrat little lab coat-wearing dictators like Fauci run our lives, and the President of the United States can't even stop him. That's what they've done. They have inverted our social institutions. They've inverted all the way down to the family, most especially the family, the bedrock political institution. All the while, some squishy Republicans turned a blind eye. Some of them even aided and abetted the transformation. They played court jester in the kingdom of liberalism. They fought just enough. You know, I'm not going to name these politicians. Okay, I think that would be rude. Like if I were to mention that some of them were like a senator from Utah, former governor of Massachusetts, invented Obamacare. I'm not going to name that. I'm not going to name him. His name rhymes with Rit Momney. I'm not going to name him, though. It's wrong. It would be wrong to do that. These kinds of squishy Republicans, these court jester conservatives, their job is to lose. They put up enough of a fight, they legitimize the regime. The minute it comes to the actual battle, they roll over. This has been going on for about 100 years now. But you may have noticed it's not always the same. The pace of this is accelerating. Not just, the masks are a great example. This crazy lockdown is a great example. But you see this in other issues. I'll give you another example. For decades, we debated whether or not to allow legal abortion. And basically, everybody agreed abortion was a bad thing on the left and the right. But some people on the left said, we need to have abortion because of, I don't know, blah, 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 to stop some other evil or something, right? But we still at least agreed this is not a good thing. Now, all of a sudden, After decades of this, all Democrats saying taxpayers should not have to pay for this. Now all of a sudden, the entire Democratic Party, up to and including the allegedly moderate, allegedly devout Catholic Joe Biden, are insisting, they are insisting right now that taxpayers fund the butchery of these babies. That is an acceleration. That is moving very quickly. It happened very fast. For decades, we debated sexual ethics, porn and all that kind of stuff, contraception, cohabitation. We debated these things. The relatively tame sitcom, Will and Grace, was a scandal 20 years ago. Now, if you have the audacity to say that a man is not a woman, that a man cannot become a woman simply by wishing it so, you will be smeared, you will be ostracized from polite society, you will be deplatformed, you will have punishments at your school, at your job. You will be called a deplorable, irredeemable, bitter, clinging bigot and fool who has no right to any voice in our republic. For decades, virtually every prominent Democrat condemned the burning of the American flag. They would simultaneously say it should be legal, we should support it, the legality of it, but they all condemned it. It's a horrific thing to do. Now, however, virtually every mainstream Democrat regularly protests the flag, regularly disrespects the flag at football games, on television, in social institutions. That's not a narrow protest. Do you remember Colin Kaepernick? He initially said, the flag protest, the Star-Spangled Banner protest, it's about police brutality. They said, well, then protest a police department. The flag is the symbol of the entire country. Then he started protesting the Betsy Ross flag. Now they're all, I guess he was against police brutality in 1776. It was always about the country. How much more honest do they need to be? The left is now teaching in schools the 1619 Project. Absolute trash. Anti-historical trash. They're teaching that. And they say, explicitly, the purpose of the project is, quote, to reframe American history and teach an entire generation to hate their country. It is happening very fast. We are now in the suddenly phase of the national destruction. We can no longer even trust the integrity of our elections. Right now, our elections are being conducted with basically no pretense even of fairness or order. Election day, for all intents and purposes, has been abolished. It has been replaced by an election season with no transparency, no oversight, very few poll watchers. In the case of Pennsylvania, the outright, undeniable violation of the state constitution. Doesn't matter, no consequences whatsoever. Now, if Democrats manage to grab both the White House and the Senate, they promise to totally marginalize patriotic Americans for generations, if not for good. What are they going to do? Pack the Supreme Court, add new states to the country, it gives them a supermajority. You're over. You abolish the filibuster. It's done. The Republicans are done as a national party if all of that happens. Those are not the crazed rantings of the fevered imagination of right-wingers. That is what the Democrats are promising verbatim. It is very important to know exactly where you stand, because things are about to start happening very, very quickly. They already are. And what the radical left is trying to do is discourage you. What they're trying to do is trick you into despair. This is the temptation. And I completely get it, and I feel it a little bit myself. The temptation is that the Democrats cheat and steal and break the law in their elections and try, and we go out and we vote and we raise money, and it doesn't matter because they're going to steal it in the end. I totally understand that argument. However, we cannot give in to that despair. The left and their squishy Republican friends want you to throw your arms up in the air. They want you to punch your nose to spite your face. Do not do it. Do not give them the satisfaction of your despair. Do not do it. You can't do it. We have to remember, hope is a virtue and despair is a sin. And courage is a virtue too. I've often said, I hope President Trump lives a very long life. I want him to be around for a long time. I do. I love the guy. And when that inevitable day comes, as it comes for us all, Maybe he donates his body to science. I want him to donate his spine to the GOP. I think that would be quite a contribution. Obviously, I am preaching to the choir right now. You here are the cream of the crop. You do not allow yourself to be intimidated by these bullies, these bureaucratic fools. The concern for the people in this room, though, myself included, it's not that we're all going to give up. I think there's too much energy here, don't you? I think there's a lot of dragon energy here. I think it's kind of like that energy that Kanye and Trump have. I think we got a little bit of that in this room. That's not the fear. The fear for us is a little different. The temptation that we all have to guard against is not that we'll give up, but that we might be co-opted by the liberal establishment. That is what they're trying to do. That with enough sticks and carrots, we can all be turned to abandon our standards and our principles and go along with the inevitable march of progress with a capital P. That maybe we'll put up a little fight, but when it counts, we'll roll over. That's what they want. A conservative, but not that kind of conservative. You've probably heard it on campus, where some squishy person will say, look, I'm a conservative, but I think abortion is totally fine, and I think we can radically redefine the family, and I just really want to lower taxes, and I hate Trump, and I hate Cruz, and I hate Rush Limbaugh, and I hate Charlie Kirk, and I hate all those. I'm a good one. I'm a conservative, but not that kind of conservative. You ever hear a rhino? That's another term for it. Do not be that guy. Do not become the Lincoln Project. Do not become Egg McMuffin, whose birth name is Evan McMullen. He's that vindictive spook who pretended he was a conservative in 2016, tried to beat Trump. Now he's making gulag lists of all the conservatives who have ever actually done anything in their entire life. Do not do it. That is a fate worse than death. I would rather commit political seppuku than become one of those lame losers at the Lincoln Project. Don't do it. You know, we make fun of all of these sad sacks. I understand why they roll over. Because the pat on the head feels good, and the smack of the newspaper does not feel good. If you play the court jester, your life as a day-to-day matter will be easier. You will get better grades more easily. You will have fewer contentious conversations with your blue-haired feminist cousin. You will. You'll fit in better at work. You maybe will get more promotions. You'll do better with your classmates. You'll chat up more girls. Oh, you'll get invited to more parties. I get it. I feel the temptation. You have to resist it. You will feel more at home in the dominant liberal culture. And all it will cost you is your integrity. This is the fight right now. You're in it. If you stand firm in your convictions, if you stand athwart history yelling stop, to use Buckley's phrase, if you refuse to be boiled gradually, then suddenly, you will be slandered and attacked. You will be called stupid. You will be called uneducated. You will be called evil and sexist and racist and whatever. That is the cost of integrity. That is the cost of telling the truth in an age gone mad. If you would rather go along with the left, then go along with them. Have an easy time of things, but do not insult the rest of us by calling yourself a conservative. Do not do it. If you lay down on the small things, on the seemingly trivial things, the larger surrenders will follow. If you give up ground gradually, the sudden defeat will follow. Stand firm, take heart, and keep the faith. We may lose, but we will not roll over. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. Now, I have tried to leave enough time because rather than just talk myself the whole time, I want to hear from you. I think we have some time for Q&A. If you want to line up back there, you make sure you social distance. You have to be at least 6 centimeters away from the speaker in front of you. Would love to hear from all of you. Yes.
JFK, I've lost my voice, so my bad, guys. I'm raspy again.
There's too much to cheer. I understand.
Yes.
This is the largest gathering on Earth right now. There's a lot to be happy about.
Exactly. The great John F. Kennedy once said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." In a time so much where we're told what our country can do for us and how much our country can help us, what do we need to be asking ourselves and looking for to do for our country every day? Because every day there's so many people overseas fighting for our country. What can we do here to work just as hard for our country, in your opinion?
It's a great question. The key here, there's two aspects to this. One is people talk about how we're going to have a great national divorce. I was just talking to Charlie about this on his podcast. There's a lot of talk about this because the left hates us, and frankly, I'm not so thrilled with the left right now, and I don't know that we all want to live together. The reason the divorce analogy makes sense is because if you go in, if a couple is having trouble, the marriage is on the rocks, if you go into marriage counseling and the whole counseling is you did this and you did that and I scored this point and you scored this point, you go tit for tat, it doesn't matter who's right, it doesn't matter who did what. If you hate each other, then the marriage ain't going to work. And I think that's the same thing here. You have to love your countrymen. The way to love your countrymen is to love your country. We used to at least have that. We didn't have a whole lot in common. That's been built in from the beginning to America. We at least had patriotism. We at least loved the country itself. Now the left is openly saying they don't love it. So that's going to create a big problem. If you don't reinstill a love of country and therefore countrymen, you're not going to be able to do anything. The other key is, and this is something that a lot of squishes got wrong for a lot of decades, is we need to have standards. We need to be able to have the confidence, the backbone, to say this thing is true and this thing is false. And moreover, we need to be able to say this thing is good and this thing is bad. I think the trick with political correctness and wokeism, the trap that we've all fallen into is political correctness comes in, overthrows the old standards. And then our response to it, a lot of conservatives for decades, was we should have no standards at all. Forget about look, I can't say that it's better to go to church than to go to Drag Queen Story Hour. But look, maybe you really like Drag Queen Story Hour and maybe I really like church. Who's to say what's better? It's better to go to church than Drag Queen Story Hour. We need to be able to say that. We need to be able to have standards. This doesn't mean you have to be a jerk or mean to people. You can be very nice to people, but you at least need to be able to have a standard and stand by that. And we haven't done it for a long time. I'm seeing it happen right now, especially before Fauci locked us all in our rooms. I would travel to a lot of campuses. I'd talk to a lot of you. I've met a lot of you before. And I'm seeing that happen. I'm seeing a new courage come up. That has been very deficient. But if we can articulate a clear matter of what is right, what is wrong, stand by that, we'll do a lot to help heal the country.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
You too.
Hey, Michael, how you doing? I'm here with my best friend Kyle, and I don't know if you ever seen the movie or read the book Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance, but we grew up about an hour from Jackson, Kentucky. And in one of the scenes in the movie, he was sitting, after he graduated law school, he was sitting with a big, group of people from law school that are interviewing him. And when he said, I'm from Middletown, Ohio, and Jackson, Kentucky, Appalachian region, they kind of scoffed at him and scorned at him. So my question is, why is there so much hatred and scorn towards people like us?
Well, because you're so privileged, that's why. Don't you know that? I read Hillbilly Elegy. That guy seems so privileged, doesn't he? He's got a drug-addicted mother, he's got this horrible childhood, he's got to work his way up from nothing, but he's privileged. It's the only group in America that you're not only permitted to mock and deride, but you're actually sort of required to mock and deride, are the hillbillies, are the sort of poor white people in the middle of the country and up in the hills. That is a deep prejudice. I mean, that is a real example of rank bigotry, but it's not hypocrisy when the left does this. I noticed there's a phrase that the law professor Adrian Vermeule uses a lot. He says, it's not hypocrisy, it's hierarchy. It's a new caste system that is being foisted on the country. And it's really awful. It's really awful. One thing I will say to give us some hope is the Trump victory was in many ways, I mean, frankly, the success of that book, Hillbilly Elegy, shows it too, was a reminder that these are people, there are countrymen. It is not right to mock them and deride them. They come from very difficult circumstances. And as the march of progress moved on, and these people got absolutely the worst bargain they could have gotten, and we moved into a sort of transnational age of neoliberal empire, all of a sudden, sometimes the people fight back. And that's what happened in 2016. It's why you saw all these shenanigans, everybody coming out of the woodwork to make sure that 2020 didn't go that way again. But there is still a profoundly popular movement there for those kinds of people, and I think the GOP is obviously the only party speaking to them right now, and as long as they keep that up, as long as we don't let those establishment hacks come out and try to kill Trumpism and excise it from the GOP, as long as the GOP takes a much more coherent, traditional, conservative, American view of representing the actual American people, then I think there is a bit of hope. And those very people who are castigated are the people who are in many ways giving us that hope.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Should I hold it or? Hey, Michael. My name's Kongmin, also known as Korean Christian Conservative. I'm probably your biggest fan here. I also want to thank you for saying I love you back to me when I said I love you during your All Access Live on one of them. I watch your show pretty religiously, almost every day, and when you got to Friday, I was really happy, still 5 days a week. But I was wondering, I have to know, what's the secret to your smooth transitions from what you're talking and your content to your advertisements?
This is the real... I try to do this on my show. And do you know the real reason I do this is because, you get into a train of thought. And then you got to stop and you got to read the sponsors, and that's nice when the sponsors support the show. But, either you can get kind of irritated with, do a full break, or you can amuse yourself and see if you can trick everybody in the audience to not realizing that you're doing an ad. So I've been doing that now from the very beginning. It's very important because a lot of times, I'll just be blowing smoke on air, and really the best way to blow smoke is to go to thompsoncigar.com/Knowles, promo code Knowles. You'll save a lot of money on it. So I would highly recommend that you check that out. Great question.
Thank you. Love you.
You too.
That was great. Hi, Michael. Big fan. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So I had a question. Something that I've really been noticing in a lot of my social groups. I'm from Southern California, OC area. So something I've been struggling with. Yeah, thanks. Which you were there, but you moved to Nashville just this year. So
I fled. I thought if I turned around, I would turn into a pillar of salt as I was fleeing L.A. So I am now in the sweet air of freedom.
There you go. That's good. It's right where I'm at. So anyway, something I've been noticing in a lot of my social circles is a lot of my Christian friends are falling for this incredibly woke narrative, just caving to every system that's just coming at them and whatnot. Something I value a lot, talking even with far left people, is I try and at least value having conversation with them, if anything, to just help me better collect my argumentation and whatnot, or even try and exercise some of the research that I've been doing. So my question to you is, one, do you have any research tips? And second of all, what would be your biggest tip, I guess, to try and to reason with these Christians who I've known for a very long time but have really just caved to this woke narrative?
And I'm sorry, I couldn't hear at the very end. Had a reason with these Christians who
have fallen to this woke narrative.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this too. It's very frustrating. One thing I would do, I say this as a Catholic, so your mileage may vary, but one thing I love doing is, we got a lot of Catholics out here. That's pretty good. All right. Wow, hey, all right. That's pretty good. One thing I would do is I like to go back whenever the left cites some woke bishop saying some stupid thing. I go back and cite Blessed Pius IX, Saint Pope Pius X, Pope Leo XIII, Pope Saint John XXIII, Pope Saint John Paul II. I quote all these people talking about how terrible socialism is and how it's just vile and evil. I go back, I can recommend a number of those encyclicals. It is not defensible. I got a lot of flack in the election because I said it is not permissible for a faithful Christian to vote for Joe Biden. And people, they were so furious at me. How dare you? How dare you say that? But it's not. It's very clear. frankly, just on the issue of life alone, Joe Biden's abortion extremism is so radical that it is not permissible to vote for a guy like that. And we have to remember, the issue of life is not one issue among many. It is the bedrock right without which none of our other rights would exist or make any sense. So you need to hit them on that, absolutely. And I think what it actually ties into what we were just talking about with political correctness. There will be a standard. There will always be a standard that we are governed by. We can pretend like, we can just live in a live and let live, you do you, don't yuck my yum kind of silly freshman philosophy class life. You can't do it. Either you're going to live by the old standards or you're going to live by the new woke standards. And I think a lot of Christians in this more liberal movement have decided that they don't have the courage to defend their own standards. Well, guess what? Inevitably, they're going to be swept back for that. So I'd have them read their Bible, I'd have them read a few encyclicals, and I would not back down. Remind them. I wish I could shake these people and say, courage is a virtue. Stand up. There is nothing honorable or dignified about rolling over and letting the cruel rape the earth. No way, buddy. Not a chance.
Thank you for showing up today. I love the podcast, and the verdict with Ted Cruz is very good as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
So, two of Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals are keep the pressure on and make them live by their own book of rules.
Yeah.
How can we, as young conservatives, learn to use their rules and leftist tactics against them? Because that's what gets them infuriated in the end.
Well, the trouble is, the reason it works for Alinsky when he says make them live by their own rules is because conservatives care about consistency. Conservatives care about this sort of issue. The left does not. They don't care at all. For decades now, they've been foisting the sort of, I guess you would call it the gay rights movement. And whatever you think of a gay rights movement, it's just premised on the idea that you're born this way, that your sexual attraction is immutable, that there are two different sexes, and some people have same-sex attraction, some don't. Then 5 seconds later, they switch it to transgenderism, and they say, actually, you're not born anyway, and there's no such thing as men or women, and you can kind of change. It completely contradicts what they were saying 5 seconds ago. Doesn't matter. They do the same thing, actually, with feminism and transgenderism, right? The future is female, but there's no such thing as female, so never mind. It doesn't really matter to them, because they're denying this kind of objective moral framework, and the only reality they're acknowledging is the reality of their own suffering. It's kind of the basis of intersectionality. So forget about that. There's a great line from Rochefoucauld, which is, hypocrisy is the tribute vice pays to virtue. And, there is, in the worldview that we're describing, which is grounded as a Christian worldview, we sin. We sin. We don't want to brazenly sin. We don't want to say something that we don't really believe. But if you fall and you sin, that's not the contradiction of conservative beliefs in Christianity. That's the proof of it. That's the point. That's the whole thing. And so I think we have to care much less when they call us whatever stupid name they're going to call us. And because they're only interested in power, we need to be willing to exercise the political power that occasionally the people give us when we have it, and not be so timid and not be so cowardly as to give it all up. Got to use it. That's the language that the left will understand. Great question.
Hey there, Michael. My name is Cade Murphy. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So my question for you is this. The Second Amendment was originally established to provide a protection against a government that should become too tyrannical. But the question then comes is, what's the threshold of tyranny before the Second Amendment should be used for its original purpose?
That's a perennial question. People are going to say it's radical to ever ask that question. That's a question that all serious Americans have asked themselves at every stage in our national life. I'll give the answer that a Supreme Court justice gave on pornography. He said, how do you define obscenity? How do you define pornography? And he said, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. Now, I don't mean to evade your question. I really don't think that's what I'm doing. What I'm saying is there is no set, rigid, ideological answer that I can write out for you with 5 bullet points on a napkin and say this is the moment. That is not how it works. That's how the left behaves, and that's how some misguided people on the right have behaved. But there is a conservative virtue that we've completely forgotten, which is prudence. Prudence, common sense. It's the virtue that our friends on the other side completely lack, and it's one that we should use. I can't point to you and say, when the government does this, and the government does that, and the government does this, then you have to take up arms and overthrow a totalitarian or tyrannical regime. I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is that, as you state, there is a principle of self-defense, self-protection, that is built in, and it goes all the way up to the political level. That is enshrined in our Constitution, and it is up to us to use our rational faculties and our prudence to know when that time is. I don't think that time is now, by the way, as much as I hate the masks. Could that time happen in the future? Of course it could. I can't predict the future, so I can't tell you when that is. But I do know that if, God forbid it comes to that, I really hope it doesn't. If it does, we're not going to know it's the time because of some little tract that was written on a sheet of paper. We're going to know the time because we're praying about it, we're humble about it, we are using our faculties of reason, and we're using our good judgment, which unfortunately right now is in very short supply. Goodbye, everybody. Lovely to see you. Wonderful to be with you. I can see your faces without those masks. That's so beautiful. Thank you very much.
Can we get some water for the judges before we get this started?
You know, this is really great, guys. I've been telling you for a while, I think PragerU needs to step up the influencer game. Really find the new conservative voices.
Yeah, seriously, you should have done this years ago.
Will is a great personality and all, but we just need more.
Nice shirt. I have one that's actually exactly like that. Dude, watch out. That costume sucks, by the way. What is going on here? Sabrina! Yo, Sabrina. What's going on here?
Did you just get here? It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Who are all these people? What are they doing here?
Did you not read the email? We sent it out like 2 days ago.
You know I don't read my email, Sabrina. If it was urgent, you should have Snapchatted it to me.
Well, if you read the email, you would know that we're looking for a new PragerU personality.
What's wrong with my personality?
Well, some of us have to actually work here, so you can read about it on this flyer. We're looking for a new PragerU personality.
All right, judges, are we ready? Let's bring in our first audition.
Great.
What's up, people? I'm here on the street for PragerU.
That was great, great. You know, I like your shirt and the glasses and the hat, but we have an opening in the accounting department. I think it might be a good fit for you.
What's up, guys? Oh, sorry, wrong hand. What's up, guys?
Yeah, that's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Next.
What's up, guys? We're here on the street.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of renting or leasing, but I need you to own the libs.
Even on? Hello?
What's up, guys? I'm PragerU's favourite influencer. Check out my hair. This is my microphone. I'm going to go out in the street and talk to people about the issues of the day.
That was absolutely terrible. What is this? You know this is for a PragerU influencer slot, not the next casting of Shrek.
All right, guys, I can't take it anymore. You can't get rid of me. I'm an influencer. What other jobs do influencers get?
Hold on, buddy. I think you have the wrong idea. I think actually everybody has the wrong idea. We are not replacing Will Witt. We're not making a new Will Witt. We are adding a different personality to PragerU.
So I'm not getting replaced?
No, Will. One of you is more than enough. Trust me.
Whew. All right, well, guess I'll see myself out then.
For the record, guys, I did think we were getting rid of Will Witt. The hair, it's just...
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry to be late, but I am your new man.
Woo! That was a close one. As you just saw, we are looking for more PragerU personalities to join our team, and we would love for them to come from PragerForce. I got my start through PragerForce, and so can you. PragerForce is the world's largest digital movement of students and young professionals protecting American values. When you join, you become part of a digital community with thousands of other people just like you from around the world. You'll get mentored by our team to help you create digital content and become influencers. You'll get access to exclusive events and the opportunity to meet leaders in the conservative movement like Dennis Prager, Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, and most importantly, me. Text PragerForce to 64600 to join now.
I gotta say, thank you guys. I love all of you. I love all of you. Thank you. Thank you. I have to say, I walked in here today, I was a little disappointed. Not many men in dresses here today. Harry Styles would not be very happy. Dennis Prager gave me some advice a couple months ago where he said to make every single speech of yours like you're giving it's the best speech of your life. So I do that every time, so this is going to be good, guys. Get ready for that. I want to start off with a little bit about my story so you guys can hear about where I came from. I actually used to work for Turning Point. Turning Point is a lot of how I got my start into politics and everything that I do now. So I grew up in Colorado. I was never very political. I was an atheist my entire life, probably on the left. I thought Obama was pretty cool. And I ended up working for a Democrat state senator, interning for her, and then I went to college, went to the University of Colorado Boulder. Got any? The one chick. It's not something to cheer about. Boulder is not a great place. But I went there, and a lot of people, you go to college as a conservative, your parents give you conservative values, you're a Christian, and then you go out of college and you become a leftist. I actually went to college and became a conservative. I was an English major, useless degree. And I remember sitting in my sociology class, there's a black girl sitting next to me, and my TA, she points to me and says, "You are oppressing this girl because of the color of your skin." And this girl looks at me, she's like, "I don't know what's going on. This is really awkward for me." And I was like, I didn't feel like I was oppressing her, and she didn't feel like she was being oppressed, but this TA at this $50,000 a year university gets to come and tell me that I'm oppressing someone. This is how you create the victim culture in America. And so after that, I started just getting incredibly involved. I worked with the Republican Party in Colorado, I worked with Turning Point USA, and then eventually I found out about PragerU. I binge-watched every single one of their 5-minute videos. You guys have seen them. Dennis, everyone else. And I watched all of their videos, and I found out about PragerForce, which is their student program. And the director of PragerForce at the time, she called me, said, "You can make videos or write for us." I'm like, cool. So the next day, I went and borrowed my buddy's GoPro, went out, shot a video on my campus asking women what they thought about the wage gap. Of course, they all thought they were very oppressed. And I taught myself how to edit the video, sent it to PragerU. They loved it, and long story short, they flew me out to Los Angeles, gave me a job, and that was about 3 years ago, and now we're here. This amazing thing. I tell this story because it's the question that I get asked the most of how did I get to where I am. You know, just 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I was a student at this conference. I mean, I'm sure some familiar faces, you might have remembered me at this conference shooting these T-shirts off of here like some of the other people here. But about a year ago, the New York Times actually, they came and did a piece on me and PragerU. I was on the cover of New York Times, no big deal. But they did that, and they said, first of all, they said I looked like a high school jock at a central casting. I was like, that's a pretty good description. But they said that I was a lonely kid in college and that I saw these bright graphics from PragerU videos and it radicalized me and turned me into a conservative. This is the New York Times, of course. But the point is that conservative values didn't radicalize me.
Conservative values set me free. I get right now that it is incredibly difficult to speak your mind. Every single place you go, people hate on you for being a conservative. But I can tell you that with the utmost confidence that me coming out as a conservative and being as vocal as I have been has been the greatest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I have the best job. I have made the best friends that I ever would have when I came out as conservative. The most amazing girl in the world by my side. I mean, just everything that I've done by speaking out has just been the most incredible thing. And so I urge all of you guys to do the same. Because in America right now, I mean, Dennis Prager, he said it best, that we are at a civil war. We are at a civil war where the two sides of America are pitted against each other, and that we hope that it doesn't get violent, but it's getting crazy out there. And which side are you going to be on? Are you going to be on the side that sits back on the sidelines and doesn't do anything when you see evil things happening? You know, I think about in the Bible with the 9th commandment, which is bear no false witness, right? Which basically means to tell the truth. Telling the truth is the most important thing that you guys can do right now in America. It is truly the most important thing you can do. I'm from California, or I live in California now. Wrong reaction. Again, terrible reactions. It's a horrible place. Terrible place. At least it's warm. At least it's warm. But I'm from California, and if you guys know California, I mean, California had Reagan. California was a conservative place before, and now look at it. It is the worst place to live in America because of leftist policies. Leftist policies did that, but it's because conservatives were too weak to actually stand up and do anything against the left that aimed to destroy their state. We're in Florida right now. It's pretty based here. Governor DeSantis is pretty based. Yeah, good guy. But when you see how quickly California turned into a horrible place, when you see how quickly New York and all these other cities across the country have turned into horrible places, this can happen to Florida in the blink of an eye. We've seen it happen even with the Conservative Party, with the Republican Party, how quickly people have flipped. That when you have Donald Trump as president for the last 4 years, and you don't really have to stand up for anything because you have a conservative in the White House, and then when push comes to shove with the election and BLM riots and coronavirus, then the real conservatives really show themselves. Again, which type of person are you going to be? Are you going to be the person that bends over backwards for the left? The people who bend over backwards because you want people to like you or you want to have a bunch of fake friends? Or are you going to be the person who tells the truth no matter where you go because you know that is the right thing to do and that you are fighting against evil and you are fighting for this country? That is a choice that you have to make. I made that choice. I'm sure a lot of you guys in here have made that choice, and it's a struggle every single day. Michael Knowles was saying it incredibly well when he was up here. But it is a choice that you have to make every day when you are faced with evil things in your life. Guys, join Prager Force, our student program, to get involved and to learn more about how you can do more in your communities, at your university, wherever you are. Never sacrifice your values, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you all.
One shot, one aim, one stage, one name. This There are no rules to this game, so go out with a bang. Only one spot on top, one claim to fame. If I'm going out, I'm going out with a bang. So you wanna hang with a bang star like me? And then we going out with a bang energy. One shot, one aim, one stage, one name. There are no rules to this game, so go out with a bang. Only one spot on top, one claim to fame. If I'm going out, I'm going out with a bang. So you wanna hang with a bang star like me? And then we going out with a bang energy. Bang! Bang, bang! Go out with the bang. You wanna hang with a bang star like me, get a bang energy.
All right, everybody, who's ready to go out with a bang in 2020? Yeah.
What's up, SAS?
Let's get some energy in here. Come on. Give it up for Meg, Liz, Owoc.
Thank you so much, Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk, for having us 2 years in a row. We're so honored to be here, and it's so amazing to see all your faces out there. My name is Meg Liz Owoc. I'm the Director of Marketing at Bang Energy. Jack likes to call me the boss babe of Bang Energy. And
yeah.
Thank you. I've just been having so much fun over the last 10 years. Developing our social media dominance of 2.8 billion followers worldwide and creating epic events around the world. And
are you guys ready to go out with a bang in 2020?
we're going to be talking a lot about social media today, so I want you guys to listen to that. And before I give the stage back to my amazing husband, I want to give a huge shout out to all the boss babes out there. I want you guys to keep crushing it, keep standing up for what you believe in, and keep fighting for our country because we need you. God bless.
Thank you, Meg Liz Owoc. I want you to look over here real quick. This is money. This is real money. We're going to shoot it out. Now, we don't know how that gun works, so you got to watch, you got to pay attention. And when you see President Donald J. Trump, get ready, because we're about to let it bang, folks. All right, welcome to the Bang Revolution and Turning Point USA. I'm going to give you guys a lot of success tips today on what to do. How many entrepreneurs out there? All right, we're going to show you how I went from the mattress to the mansion. I slept on a mattress in the back of my store. Now we live in a 15,000 square foot mansion. All glory and credit goes to Father God and all of you guys who have helped us. So pay attention, because here we go. One of the things, if you look at the slide up there, we do things bigger, bolder, and more brilliant. Everything we do has to be bigger than the last time we did it. Like this show, for example, we brought out the dancers, we brought out the money. I got some gold chains. Who wants a gold chain? All right, I think we could do this. Let's go. Now, I'm going to show you how to go through a record 100 slides in 25 minutes. They got me on a timer here. I talked to Walmart, Publix, everybody. I'm on no timer, but Charlie Kirk has me on a timer. What do you guys think of that? No, Charlie's a great guy. Here we go. Bigger, bolder, more brilliant. Now we're going to talk about place, face, and story. One of the things that we're talking about right now, the place, is South Florida. And you're in South Florida where Bang Energy headquarters is. Yes. The face. I'm the face of the company, but also Meg Liz Owoc and 1,000 influencers who represent 2.8 billion followers. We're going to go over social media, and we're going to give you a new social media surprise today that you will not believe. It does not suppress conservative speech or anything like that. You guys got to see this because the fix is in. Let's turn it up. If you want some bang, bang. If you want some bang, bang. All right. I got something special to tell you now. Right here, you see these guys with these red cameras approved by Netflix. We are shooting not a documentary, but a shockumentary. We're about to shock you guys. So, you guys got to get loud. You got to get. You're going to be part of this documentary. It's going to change history. It's called a shockumentary. We're going to go over that. Here we go. Now, our success is the result of relentless. Pay attention, because young folks need to learn this. Relentless discipline, effort, sacrifice, and study. Look at the slide. This is innovation that exceeds all expectation. Say it with me. Relentless innovation. These are our scientists. Research and development never stops. We're going to taste these formulas, folks. These are brand new because we're bringing the bang to you all the time. Who's ready for a new watermelon bang? It's coming out. I'm signing off. This is sample number 72, a rare sign-off on stage. You guys, I'm going to be backstage with you in a little while. Thank you. Give it up for our scientists. Yes. Innovation that exceeds all expectation. Here's some of the new inventions coming out. Check the pink one out. Coming out on Valentine's Day. Who's ready? All right. We have unique branding for every flavor launch. Watch this, folks, because if you're in your own business, you only have 3 choices. You either are an entrepreneur, you get to work for Charlie Kirk, or Bang Energy. There is no other choice. Miami. Where's our Latinos? Let's get a little dance going. Where is Kimberly Guilfoyle? This was the launch of Miami Cola. All right, here we go. One of the cool things we do is we have a unique campaign for every flavor launch. Maybe, I don't know. I got to think how to do this. Here comes another one. Check this out. How many rock and rollers do we have in the house? Check it out. do if you work at Bang Energy, folks? Who wants to work at Bang Energy? Here's another launch for key lime pie. We have a whole pallet of key lime pie for you outside to get all banged up. Key lime pie. All right. Here it is, coming out Valentine's Day. This is going to be a killer, folks. Here's what we did for our military. Who loves the military? Yeah. That's right. Keeping America strong, keeping America great. These are the caffeine-free. How many of you are under the age of 18? So we got a caffeine-free version for you. I hear you laughing. Y'all like that caffeine-free. I want you to look at the screen, folks. We don't make people want our products. We make products people want. One of the things you have to do if you're going to start your own company is answer the question, who are you? Well, this is who we are. I want you to watch this epic video. It's the most epic video of all time. I want you guys to get crazy. I want you to dance. But I'm going to give you a little rest because a lot of you are in bad cardio shape, and that's all right. It's 3 minutes long, so it's in a crescendo. So sound guys, as we go, I'm gonna go like this, and I want that volume up. I want everybody dancing because remember, we are filming a world-class shockumentary, and you gotta be ready. You ready? Let's go. Whoa. Keep it going. Let's go. All right, folks. We're trying to get that thing rolling. All right.
Check.
Let's go. Put some money in there and let's go.
This is how we do it. La, 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 la.
We got that power. We got that power. All right, folks, here we go. I want you to check this out now. One of the things I want to challenge everybody to do is to stay in good shape. Check out these cops. This is the app to do that. Now, I need everybody's attention. Everybody, I need you to take out your phones. I know you're excited about the money. There's a lot more coming. That's just the start. Who loves money? Who loves America? Who loves capitalism? All right, folks, I need your attention for 1 minute. Hey guys, take out your phones, please. Look at the screen because the fix is in. Who's heard of the fix? Check it out. Now, Donald J. Trump wants to ban TikTok. So we have an answer for you. And this is our new bang social media app called The Fix. Please go on Instagram right now and follow The Fix with 2X, The Fix app on Instagram, and we'll let you know we are launching this next month. Here's what it's all about, folks. Look up on the screen, unlimited access, relaxed censorship, VIP experience for all users, no suppression of free speech, no suppression of conservative speech. If you want to make money, we do not manipulate the algorithms or any of that other nonsense. This is the app you've been waiting for. Where only in no censorship. Where? I got to get you guys. Look, we're doing a documentary only in only in only in here we go. Yeah, that's real. Go. Keep going. Keep shooting. Keep shooting. All right, folks. All right, folks, we're going to talk about our social media, so pay attention. Here's our plan. You guys are part of the plan. No one's heard this before. We have, check it out, 1.4 billion followers on TikTok, over 1 billion on Instagram. Now, who's heard of faux news? I spell Fox, F-A-U-X. Faux. Check these stats out. Bang Energy, and if you don't believe it, look it up right now on your phone. If you go hashtag Bang Energy on TikTok, we have 8.5 billion views. Now, you could take Fox, CBS, MSDNC, CNN, ABC, combine them all and we blow them away. Bang Energy, you are Bang Energy. In fact, you could throw in Red Bull Monster and all them too, and we still have more than all of them combined. Give it up for my man out here. If you ain't banging, check it out, folks, 2.8 billion, but watch the strategy. We're going to move all of these censorship machines, all these followers over to the fix, because the fix is in, and the fix is where it's at. Here we go, folks. Boom, the fix is in. When you get successful, a lot of people go, you sold out. Well, I did sold out. Let me show you how I sold out. Look at that. Sold out. Sold out. We sold out in Target, in Kroger, in Publix, in GNC, 7-Eleven, Quick Trip, the Vitamin Shop. We sold out, folks. People will say you sold out, and that's what you want to do. Who wants to sell out? Look at these displays, folks. This is you. I give thanks to you for this incredible displays. These are the largest displays in the country right now, because if you ain't banging, all right, here we go. So we're gonna try to wrap this up. Now, look where it says on the screen. Now, you know those Instagram emojis, they suck. Horrible. Check out some of our emojis. Super cool. Yes. Bangmoji, right? All right. So this is on the Fix app, because the fix is in, folks. These are cool emojis. No more old school Instagram. Instagram is a dinosaur and it's about to die, because we don't make people want our products. What do? All right, here we go. Look at all these innovations, folks. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, pay attention to this statement. It's pretty deep. We have answers to things that are not yet problems. Energy shot was never a problem, but now we have a carbonated, world's first. We have cognitive candy for your brain. How many gamers out there? Right there, there you go. We know the future because we invented it. We're inventing it right now. All right, we about to wrap this up. Who wants to dance? Are we allowed to bring people on stage?
This worldwide to infinity. You know the roof on fire. We go boogie, oogie, oogie, jiggle, wiggle, and dance like the roof on fire.
Are we allowed to bring people on stage?
I'm a fireball.
Let's go, Miami. Bring the girls out. All right. Open up the champagne. We got to get you guys on stage. Let's go. Whoever wants to dance, get on this stage.
Baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house. Play the music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go a while.
See if we can open that up so they can come dance.
Welcome to my house.
20 people only, come up on stage. Let's go. Wait a second. We got to close strong. Pittsburgh, PA, baby. Steelers. Look, friends, I got to leave you with a message, so pay attention. We're going to dance on stage. We're going to let 20 people up. Can you guys let these people up, please? Come on, we got to go. Well, jump. We got to go. We got to get these people on stage. Let's go. Folks. No? How about one person? Can we get her up here? She's a... Yes, girls, help her up. One person only. All right, be careful. Grab like this. No, like this. No, like this. All right, folks, we're going to go out with a bang. Remember, the cameras are rolling. I want cameras on this audience because we have a killer song that we're going to close with. I want everybody dancing. If you've never danced before, just pretend, because sooner or later you're going to get married and you're going to have to dance, guys. All right, this is where I started. This is where we're wrapping up. We have hired 1,000 employees during COVID. Here we go. We're running out of time. I'm clicking through. New headquarters where you could work. There's Charlie Kirk, folks. Give it up for Charlie Kirk. Look at the screen for a second. I have something important to tell you. There is no elevator to the top. You must take the stairs unless you're Charlie Kirk. Homeboy went right to the top. In fact, Friday night, somebody gave him, that didn't even know him, a random guy at the gala, gave him one person, $6 million. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Here we go. We're running out of time, but I want to show you our stage that we're building 24/7. If you work for us, this is what you do. It's not work. It's having fun. Check this stage out. It'll be the most epic stage in the world. And we're filming. Yeah, Chuck.
Fun.
Just
welcome to the Bang
Let's wrap this up. Everybody dance, music up.
Bang energy, nothing but love. Let me see them hands up, let me hear the crowd just get loud. Nothing but love. Give it to ya. I'm about to give it to you, yo, babe, don't you want it right now? Let me see them hands up, let me hear the crowd just get loud. I got that thing you want, I'm about to give it to ya. Everybody knows what's up, bang energy, nothing but love. We about to pop, about to feel that bang drop. We about to pop, now just feel that bang drop. Now just feel that thing drop.
the Bang Revolution. All right, let's shoot that money gun and let's get off the stage. I don't know how much time we got. We got one more. Bang gold chain. But I got a question. Who got the last Bang chain? All right. This chain has to go. There's only 2 genders that I see out there. I'm looking. And I do not see 127 genders. I only see 2. A guy got the first chain, so a female has to get the next chain. Here you go. Congratulate her with a great catch. Here we go. Thank you, Charlie Kirk. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump. This was epic. Thank you. Kimberly Guilfoyle, Kaylee, Don Trump Jr., you guys are great. SAS, greatest in the world. Let's go. All right, thank you, and God bless you. You all have a good night. Girls, blow some kisses. All right.
They are some of the most unfunny, sad, angry, hysterical, tyrannical, screechy, shrill, unfunny, humorless people you will ever meet.
I'm gonna stab you.
And that's why we make fun of them. Because they're a movement of Karens. And Karens don't like being ridiculed. And so we do it because we must. Remember, kids, it's always the right move to make fun of the communists. So let's go. The left cannot win.
Action Summit 2020. I've missed you. I've missed you all. How are you doing? This guy, how am I supposed to follow this? This guy just shot out my annual salary in a Gatling gun. How are we supposed to follow this? I know, what? Here you go. Here, should this be my entire speech? Just Bernie Sanders, this money? I could just, look. Guys, look, I'm AOC. Owoc, everyone. Just killed it. Bang energy. Unbelievable patriots. And it's so refreshing to see people that just embrace this country and embrace patriotism. And it's so rare to see that from a company. Am I going to do the whole speech with one of these? I'll do it. I love you too. Guys, I'd just be AOC handing out cash, and we got a lot to cover. I'm your biggest fan. I remember you from last year. What's going on? All right, here we go. We got a lot to get to. First off, isn't it wonderful to be meeting in person? Isn't this great? Who here is from a communist state? Who here is from a blue state? I live in Washington, D.C. These dirty commies are trying to take away our rights, and we're not going to let them because we're here in Florida, and this state's fantastic, and I'm proud of the governor here. Ron DeSantis, one of the best in the country. It's amazing. Go to Florida. Someone's down here just picking up, the photographer's down here just picking up $1 bills. It's amazing. Did you guys see us blow up communists to start off the event yesterday? The switch. I want to stop for a moment before I get into my conversation to talk about memes because, guys, we've missed out on a lot of time together this year. And we have to make up time, okay? Because we've missed out. I've missed talking to you. And there are so many memes we have to talk about. But I want to give credit to the just incredible artists who are behind the production here at this conference, who make this possible. There is a production team at Turning Point USA that I have the honor of working with that is second to none. Joe, Nathan, Josh, Marcus, Robert, Gabe, Philip, you guys know who you are, Anthony, Abigail. Huge shout out to them. They're the people who are making these amazing intros, all the beautiful videos. They're awesome. Mosaic is a production team that we work with. Guys, this bling is so heavy. This bling is so heavy. Mosaic is a production team that we work with that puts all of these screens together and makes all this happen. So a round of applause for the production team and our production house that puts this all on. And then a huge round of applause for our events team, Lauren Tunsich. Is Lauren backstage? Can Lauren come out here and just say hi? Lauren is here. She's just amazing. It would be so much easier to just not do events this year. This year has been insane because of these communists, and Lauren made it all happen in spite of all of the insanity. And so we just want to say thank you, Lauren. She's the best. The entire events department, production department, and Mosaic working together to make this all possible. Had to say it. Where's your shark costume? Oh, okay. Well, here, Lauren. Thank you. Okay, who wants memes? All right. Guys, this bling. I would never be cut out to be a rapper. Would you guys buy my hot track? Would you guys buy my album? Let's see. This would be the only song I've ever recorded. Ooh, no audio.
Of the United States of America.
Donald Trump is the President of the United States.
That was last year. Was anybody part of that? Was anybody here for that last year? Wow. That was the last time we spoke. I am so sad that this year these dirtbag communists have robbed us of being together. It makes me very sad. Now, what happened? Why haven't we been able to see each other? I'm going to put it down. Guys, I would make a terrible rapper. Why haven't we been able to see each other? Because of the commies. We should have listened. We should have listened to the smartest man in the world. This man.
Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole.
We should have listened. Don't tell Charlie. Don't tell Charlie I played a video that's an asshole. These communists, they lied about the virus. It originated in China. Chinese Communist government lied about it. They let it spread around the world. They silenced doctors and whistleblowers. They were able to make sure that nobody from the WHO came in to inspect Wuhan. They absolutely led to this pandemic, and they have not been held accountable for what they did to the entire globe. And yes, I blame communist China for what happened for me not being able to talk to you this year. And it pisses me off because there were a lot of great memes this year that I would have loved to have shared with you. So here's what we're going to do. The entire theme of this event, we blew up communists to start this thing. The entire theme of this event is we're going to get revenge on the commies. Okay? We're going to have the best meme presentation in history. I've been waiting all year for this. You guys ready to go? Okay. I call it the Chinese virus, the China virus, and when you call it the China virus, here's what you hear.
How dare you?
Oh, from the libs. They're so sad. Why? Because they like communism, actually. And when you call it the China virus, they don't like that because they actually love communism. Greta is so great for memes, by the way. It's so fun to turn Greta into a right-wing meme. When you see all the taxes stolen from your paycheck.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
My first job was like $6 an hour at a gas station. I would have been crawling on my hands and knees to gather up all this money. This was essentially my entire salary, year salary, from my first paycheck. I would have taken one of these, actually. Greta got Time Magazine's Person of the Year last year. But did you guys see what they didn't crop out of the photo? If you zoom in really closely, you can see what they missed. They didn't, I can't believe Time didn't airbrush this out. Let me tell you something, just really quick. Greta is not brave, okay? When you are just a parrot for corporate interests, for Hollywood celebrities, when you say the same thing that everyone who's won a Grammy says, when you say the same thing that Nike and Apple say, okay, you're not brave. When you drop out of school and sail around the world in a yacht, you're not brave. Who would like to drop out of school and sail around the world in a yacht? I'd like to, that'd be awesome. Okay? It's not brave to do exactly what our corrupt culture tells you to do. Okay? It's not brave to do exactly what corporate interests tell you to do. Do you know what's brave? Standing up to those corporate interests. Standing up for your freedom of speech. Wearing a Cry More Lib shirt. Being a Turning Point activist. This is what actual bravery looks like. You are actually brave. And I am honored to be in a movement with you. Y'all are actually the brave ones. We released a documentary immediately at Turning Point stating exactly how much China had lied about this virus, exactly how much communism. We've been telling you guys for years, these commies and socialists sucks. Like we've been telling you before it was cool, and 2020 proved it. Our documentary on this did 50 million views, and it was seen by a lot of people. But it wasn't seen by these guys. When they tell you that saying the Chinese coronavirus is racist, have you heard that? Calling it China virus is racist? When they tell you that, show them this.
From the Wuhan coronavirus, the Wuhan coronavirus. The 34-year-old ophthalmologist diagnosed Saturday with the Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan virus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus. What more can you tell us about the similarities or differences between SARS and the Wuhan coronavirus?
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus in China.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus. From the Wuhan coronavirus.
Wuhan coronavirus.
Fears continue to grow over the outbreak of the Wuhan coronavirus.
Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
Ooh, that's a perfect freeze frame right there. That is the face of CNN. Karen, the year of the Karen. Is anyone else sick of Karens in 2020? I am so sick of the, like, pull your mask up over your nose, pull your mask up over your nose. I am so sick of it. I'm so sick of the Karen media. I am so sick of these people and these hypocrites. It is just getting unnerving, and that's why, again, I am getting so much energy. I am just so happy to be down here with all of you. It's like liberating, right? It really, really is. Ugh. They're such liars. CNN, France declares war on coronavirus. France surrenders to coronavirus. It took about half an hour. All right, have you heard about the deadly virus over in China? Communism. That's correct. 100% correct. The real virus is communism. Let's state it loud and clear. The real virus is communism. Okay? That is why this pandemic got so bad. That's why I couldn't see all of you on your campuses in 2020. And it's why I'm extra energized to roast the commies at this conference right now. Communism, listen to me, it's so important, guys. Communism is screwing America, okay? Not like this. Well, this is a different form of it. This is slightly different, but also true. The state of the country is dire. I don't usually give such a serious presentation. I promise you we have something very fun planned, but I'm going to read something to you all. It's a very important document. This isn't the original. This is a piece that I have printed out. It's called the Bill of Rights. You may have heard of it. I'm going to ask you all if you think that over the last year, in 2020, that things have gotten more in line with our Bill of Rights, our founding, or less, okay? Number 10, Amendment 10. Powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by the states, will be reserved to the states, respectively, or the people. Do you guys feel like you have more power or less power in 2020? Amendment 4, this is huge. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. Do you guys feel like you had a great Thanksgiving? All these Karens telling you you can't gather and see grandma? Oh, so irritating. They're doing this for Christmas, too. They're doing this to us for Christmas. That's a direct violation of the Fourth Amendment. When they tell you what you can do inside of your house, they're lying. It's unconstitutional, it's sick, and they should be told to shove it. These communists. I celebrated my Thanksgiving with my beautiful family, damn it, and I had a great time. We smoked turkey legs. I think my family's here. It was my little daughter. She's 5 months old, baby Eloise. It was her first Thanksgiving. You think I'm going to teach my kid communism at 5 months old? Hell no! Mom and Dad, baby Eloise, wonderful young men. Just a point, like, please, I encourage you, if you really want to learn, like, about your founding documents, and as a young man, myself, a couple years back, number one, start a family. Like, get married. Get a girl, like, be upstanding, have a woman fall in love with you, earn her respect, start a family. You will never appreciate the American dream more than when you have a child and when you want to leave a great country for that child. That is the true encapsulation of the American dream. I am telling you from experience. I'm telling you from experience. Have children. We need more patriots to have kids. We need more patriots, like, and it's what you're going to do, because honestly, if you're a lib and you're just sad and you're lonely and you're in the coffee house sobbing into your latte all day and your only friend is your cat and the only person who loves you is Whoopi Goldberg on The View, and you just sit and you're sad all day long, you're not going to have a family. You're not going to find love. It's conservative. It's our movement that, like, embraces the family, that protects children, that protects children, protects the family, because we know that none of this works without the family unit, without our good Christian morals and the morals that built this country. And so please, I beg of you, like, embrace that tradition, okay? As a young dude, do it. You won't regret it. I wasn't planning on saying that, but I just thought about little baby Eloise. She's such a cutie. Amendment number 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I'm reading directly from the document. Better or worse this year? Worse. Worse. Dirty Beto. Who's going to give their AR-15 to Beto? I don't think so. I don't think so. Come and take it. Most importantly, somebody took his guns. That's exactly right. Isn't that funny seeing everyone get the coronavirus vaccine? Like, what betas run our governments? Everyone rolling up their sleeves. I'm like, geez, you guys need to do some trap workout. Like, you guys got to get some arm days in. I'm not saying I'm like jacked, but man, I mean, woof. Followed Nurse Kate. Amendment number 1. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Do you guys feel like churches are free in this country anymore? That being a God-fearing American is like easy these days? No, it is not. Because secretly, the government wants you to worship them. The government hates competition, and they love it when you worship them and not the church. The government wants them to be the church that you worship at. This is really important. Or abridging the freedom of speech. Do you feel like your freedom of speech has been abridged on social media this year? Do you feel like the freedom of speech for your president and commander-in-chief has been abridged on social media this year? I sure as hell do! And our freedom to meme has been abridged. I am telling you from firsthand as a man who traffics in memes illegally right across the border that no wall set up by these dirty communists or these liberals is going to stop us from memeing. No wall is going to stop us from practicing our freedoms granted to us not by man but by God in our founding documents. So do you guys want to see the best memes of 2020 and practice our freedom of speech? I do. The question is, why? Why would they want to ban our memes? What's a strange thing? Why would you want to ban us from memeing? Let's see. Probably because they tried it in China first. This is a real meme. We can all laugh at it here. Guess what? We'd all be in prison in China, and that's a real fact. This meme was banned in China. The Chinese leaders and the leaders of the tyrants are always so fragile. It's the one universal thing that every tyrant has in common. They're fragile, sad, fragile little people. Okay? They banned this meme because he looks like Winnie the Pooh. All right? He does look like Pooh. It's true. This is leader Xi Jinping of China, a communist who has such a thin sensibility and such a thin skin that he doesn't want us to publish this. Let's see if it stays up on YouTube since we're showing all these. It does look like Pooh. Like, come on, guys. I mean, it's true. Look at this. It's a very cute, like, right? Oh, cute little communist. Okay. It's just true, okay? It's empirical. So here's the thing. Because he banned it in China, and because this is not China yet, and because we're all going to fight to keep it from being China and keep our country from being communist, I am giving you guys a one-time free offer that if you DM me in my Instagram over the next 24 hours, I will send you Communism is Pooh meme made exclusively for this event. You will get it directly from me. I have a team backstage ready to go. Let's all share this because it pisses off the commies when we share this meme. Communism is Pooh. All right. Man, I have a right to do dad jokes now. It's awesome. Why would Democrats want to ban our memes? Why would they not want us to be able to make fun of them? I wonder why.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts. I'm not sure whether it was a medical school or where the hell I spoke, but it was on a campus.
Apology enough, Mr. Vice President.
Right this way,
Why attack Sanders?
Why, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday, and I want to thank you all. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. A damn liar, man. That's not true. And no one has ever said that. No one has proved that. But look, here's the deal. Here's the deal. What I like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it, and what a neat town. I mean, this is sort of is what you do here in Iowa, what they do in Iowa, what you do here in a primary in New Hampshire. For example, you are in the state of Ohio. It's the state of Iowa, like they're trying to do in the state of 3,900 of them right here in the state of South Carolina. Focus on cancer, Alzheimer's, and as well as diabetes. Ladies and gentlemen.
Give me a break. Anybody who can throw coal into a furnace can learn how to program, for God's sake. The president my friend from Vermont thinks that 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store and in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. What happened? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
No. We got to stop building and replacing pipelines. We got to go vote for somebody else.
All right, thanks.
3 former chairs of the Black Caucus, the only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate, a whole range of people.
No,
my point is,
that's not true. The other one is here.
I said the first. I said the first African-American elected. First African-American. So my point is, well, I'm looking forward to appointing the first African-American woman to the United States Senate. 150 million people have been killed since 2007 when Bernie voted to exempt the gun manufacturers from liability. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you'd like to see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look, though, okay? But guess what? If you elect me, you're not going to have your taxes are going to be raised, not cut. If you benefit from that. Now we need to stand behind Jamie Harrison, the next president of South Carolina.
Okay.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris, but anyway.
Chris. I just did Chris. No, I just did Chuck. I tell you what, man, these are back-to-back. Anyway.
No, it's
I don't know
okay.
how you do it early in the morning, too.
You said they would have to buy in.
Have to buy in. If she qualifies for
Are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago?
Be in for it.
Are you forgetting already what you said just 2 minutes ago?
I'm beginning to see why your wife left you.
That was just in the last year. That's a compilation. And I had to cut that short. Why wouldn't they want us to meme? Why do they want to take away our ability to make fun? Now compare that to this.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Because we have so much more fun than them. Because our candidate was better than their candidate in every conceivable way. And because they knew they couldn't win on a level playing field. And so they practiced what the communists told them to practice, okay? That's exactly how you do it. Censorship. That's the first thing. You start shredding these rights. And they knew they couldn't compete. They knew it. Did you guys see Kamala in that clip? Like laughing. Laughing. It was humiliating. And so they tried to censor us, and they tried to censor our memes. So they went after them, and they went after our free speech, and they went after our right to criticize and our right to ridicule. And so we are going to practice that right tonight with the 2020 Meme Oscars. Here are all the memes in no particular order that I want to share with you, okay, to close out 2020, to encourage you, to let you know that we are the party of positivity, creativity, art, and humor, and free speech, and we are here to defend you and our rights to speak, and damn the communists who try to censor us. Number one.
When dreaming.
How much fun is that? Ooh, here's a good one.
He's allowed to fly with liquids greater than 3 ounces. He's the kind of man whose eye contact technically counts as a first date. His passing remarks have been turned into screenplays. If there's an elephant in the room, it's because he brought one. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always run for re-election, but when I do, I win those terms. Stay MAGA, my friends.
Another one for your consideration. Any Harry Potter fans?
Because some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. And if we turn against each other based on divisions of race, if somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back, well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is...
We are going to enforce all trade violations against any country that cheats.
Good luck with that.
I said I'll either renegotiate or I'll terminate. So they asked me to renegotiate, I will, and I think we'll be successful in the renegotiation. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism. The nation state remains the true foundation for happiness and harmony. I am skeptical of international unions that tie us up and bring America down.
What are you going to do? There's no answer to it.
Remember the magic wand? What, you gonna get a magic wand? Yeah, I got a magic wand. Get him out of here. Get him out. Go home to mommy. Go home. Bye. Go home to mommy. Bye-bye. Yeah, I got a magic wand. I think I have two. It's my great honor to announce that we have successfully completed negotiations on a brand new deal to terminate and replace NAFTA. So we have negotiated this new agreement based on the principle of fairness and reciprocity, because we've been treated so unfairly by so many nations all over the world, and we're changing that.
Ooh, spooky. All right. Who wants to see another one? More memes?
Perhaps. And Gates. McDonald is here live on Monday Night Raw. He's still here. And Mr. Trump not coming alone. I like how he travels. Donald Trump is in a world he is not familiar with. This is not real estate. This is the WWE. Oh no! Oh, my single spear! Single spear! Hey, look at this! Donald Trump! Oh my God! What the hell? The ring just imploded!
They can't stop us here. This is why the left can't meme, guys. I say it every day. I've been saying it to you for years. The left can't meme because they have no truth. They have no values, and they can't explain what the hell is going on. Very simply. We can meme because our ideas are simple, beautiful, and founded in truth. It's founded in our values and founded in the morals and the founding of this country. And that's why things like this, you're so powerful. And they can't stop it. And they can't stop us, and we won't stop memeing. This stuff is just great. We're for the sake of time, we're gonna skip right here. Let's go.
धड़क भंडारा झिड़क झिड़क मल्हारी खड़क धड़क भड़क साली चटक मटक फटक साली दुश्मन की देखो जो फट लावली बजने दे धड़क धड़क ढोल ताश धड़क धड़क भंडारा झिड़क झिड़क मल्हारी खड़क धड़क भड़क साली चटक मटक फटक साली दुश्मन की देखो जो फट लावली I don't think you guys realize, isn't that amazing? I don't think you guys realize how hard it is to make something like that. I believe we have a very special guest in the audience. Is Philip Davis here? If Philip Davis is here, can he raise his hand? The creator of this meme is in the audience. Here he is in the back. Philip Davis, Mad Liberals, come up to the front. These memers often are anonymous. They don't get the respect that they deserve. They create media for all of us because our media has abandoned us as a movement. Philip, right here, the winner of the 2020 Meme Oscars, Mad Liberals, Philip Davis, Meme Lord. Philip, I don't have an Oscar for you, but I have a bang necklace. Come say hi to Philip. He is absolutely the best, an absolute treasure. Guys, I gotta wrap up here. I know. Seriously, it pisses them off so much, this speech. They hate the fact that we show this so much because there's so much truth to what we do. Because these memers, they try to shut them down. Philip has been harassed and censored and kicked off every social media they can get. But this content is so powerful. It's so fun. It proves that we are a movement of positivity and energy and happiness and humor. And they hate that because these libs are so fragile and miserable. That's what they hate so much about us. And that's why I am fully in support of the Museum of Memes.
You know what? play this stupid juvenile meme game. History won't record this mean, stupid crap.
Yes. Magical. Yes. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Philip Davis. We saw that one. Beautiful. Who would like to see a Hall of Memes museum? Should we do the meme Oscars every year at SAS? Should this be a normal thing? Should this be a normal thing? It's not a normal year. I'd love to do the meme Oscars. Should that be my presentation every year? All right. I'll leave you with this. I'll leave you with this. This man, this sweet man, he loves memes. He loves memes. And we are so honored for him to be our president. He understands us. He signs that wall on the border because he knows it's going to be content. Okay? And most importantly, he fights. He fights the way that we fight. He knows that this country is worth saving, that we are not going to slide away silently into the night. He knows that this country has so much to offer, and he loves this movement. He is there fighting with you. He's speaking your language. That's why he uses memes. This is why. And these bastards, man, they have thrown everything at him. They have thrown everything at him. Remember Russia. Remember Mueller. Remember Ukraine. Fake impeachment. Every story. 2 scoops of ice cream. PP tapes. All the elevator. I mean, it's trash. The censorship. Everyone see the little label they put under his tweets. Every tweet. It makes me want to read the tweet more. That little label says, oh, he's telling the truth. Like for me. Everything they've thrown at him, he still fights for us. And this day, right now, this man is our president of the United States. Right now, as we sit here, as we breathe. And I, for one, in this season of thankfulness, in this season of Christmas, I, for one, am thankful for our president, Donald Trump. I am thankful for the last 4 years. This is a movement. Movements don't stop or end or go. You know, they don't end with a single cycle. Movements continue on. And the beautiful part about this movement is getting bigger. It's getting more energetic. I'm looking out. Where's overflow room? There's an overflow room that's an entire parking garage of overflow for this event. We're going to have this in Texas Stadium next year. We're going to have this. Can we fill Texas Stadium? You want to see this on the Jumbotron? We'll do the meme Oscars on the Jumbotron in Cowboy Stadium. You guys want to see that? So beautiful. Listen to these words of encouragement that not even I couldn't put them better. Listen to these words of encouragement.
If I give you one message to hold in your hearts today, it's this. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider, because it's the outsiders who change the world and who make a real and lasting difference. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. You must keep pushing forward.
I love this man. Love this man. He fought for us. I'm thankful for him. All right, guys, let's show him. Let's show the world, okay, on a video. Let's do this thing. Student Action Summit. You're not going to cancel our memes. Not this year, commies. Oh, yes. You're not going to take this away from us. We love you, and let's say it. Patriots! Patriots! The left can't meme, and you're never gonna stop us! Thanks, guys, so much! Benny Johnson, I love you!
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Charlie Kirk, Jack Bozovic, Son Davis, and James Lindsay.
Hey, everybody. So we wanted to have a discussion about probably one of the biggest issues, if not the biggest issue in our country, which is tech censorship and the ability to post, share, and process information. How many people in this audience have experienced or have seen tech censorship, tech bias in some way or fashion this election season? Every single hand goes up. But I think what we as conservatives have to do is understand this is a post-political issue. So I want to introduce our panel here. Jack Bozovic from One America News, and I call you a social media star. Is that fair?
Social media anti-social star.
There you go. And also James Lindsay, who I have really really enjoyed an opportunity to have him on my podcast recently. And I think you would call yourself more of a classical liberal. Is that fair? And
Yep.
And I'll let you define it better than I can. And the reason I really wanted James to be on this panel is this issue is not about politics. The amount of power these tech companies have is beyond that. So, James, how would you better describe that? Your political affiliation.
My political affiliation, for the libertarians in the audience, I like to say I'm a minarchist who believes in a bigger min than you. So I am very socially liberal, not woke. Way not woke. I'm the most anti-woke person here, believe me. Believe me.
And James has been an amazing and thoughtful and effective critic of critical race theory. And we're going to get into that. And then, of course, how many people here read The Federalist? If not, you should. It's a great website. The man behind it all, Sean Davis from The Federalist, who has been censored a little bit in more than one way. Some of the most important stories have come from The Federalist in the last couple of months. It's been phenomenal. So let's get right into this issue. I believe that if we do not restrain these tech companies, we are not going to have the civilization that all of us grew up in. We are going to enter into some form of a techno-fascist, very totalitarian culture and political kind of new normal, and I hate to use that term, that where anyone has an idea that you might disagree with, you'll immediately be silenced or censored, and you're going to be censored, you're going to be programmed without you even knowing it. So, Sean, I want to start with you. Can you talk about your experience with this with The Federalist, first and foremost? And then just can you kind of frame this on how how you're approaching this issue and some of the positive movements you've seen in the conservative kind of circles and how people are really taking this more and more seriously.
Absolutely, and thank you for having us here and talking about this, because I actually think right now this is probably the biggest issue facing people, because it's not an issue really of big tech. It's not an issue of Facebook or Google. It's an issue of liberty and whether we're going to have the right to speak our minds and say what we want to say about the things that interest us. So I started the Federalist about 7 years ago, and went great for a while, and then Google and Facebook and Twitter, and they all kind of got a hold of us. And earlier this year, right before the election, a left-wing outfit out of the UK, a foreign group, colluded with NBC News and Google to deplatform and demonetize the Federalist. They said they didn't like that we had an article up, and I think the headline of it was, when it comes to the riots, the media is lying to you about literally everything, which is true. They are lying to you about everything. They're lying to you about who's involved, about who's behind it, about who's funding it. And so we tried to get the truth out there. Google came after us and tried to shut us down. Luckily, we were big enough at the time that they couldn't do it. We had a little more power than I think they thought we had. But luckily, what we have seen over the last probably 1 or 2 years is, I think, a pretty big change on the right. 10 years ago, people would have said, oh, no, I'm pro-business, I'm pro-free markets. Google's a good company, and they're just doing things the right way, making money. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think people are about done. You still have some vestiges, some dinosaurs on the right who just think, we have to preach the Nicene Creed of business, that we can't actually go after them at all. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think the right's had enough.
Yeah, and I want to transition that. It's perfect, really well said. And by the way, a side note, and we could do a whole other panel on this, the Federalist has been probably the best website on all of the nonsense around the Russian collusion garbage the last couple of years. And so you deserve a lot of credit for that, because you guys have been relentless on that, truly, and phenomenal. So we were talking backstage, James, about this kind of post-political moment that we're in. You've called it a meta-political moment. And I think where the realignment is going to start to really manifest itself is on a couple issues. And one of these, the most important, is platform access, tech, and freedom of speech, where you're going to have honest conservatives and honest liberals, small L liberals, classical liberals, all of a sudden start to have an alliance basically against the corporate Republicans and the corporate Democrats, which are people that are purchased by these multi-trillion-dollar companies, and they're afraid to criticize Google because it might interrupt some capital flow. Can you comment on that? And also, can you talk about how you see an opportunity maybe to actually preserve freedom of speech through challenging some of these oligopolies and monopolies?
Yeah, thanks. So I think that this is absolutely a necessary thing to say. The political landscape has shifted. Everybody's still thinking, or people actually, let me give you all a lot of credit. People are waking up. But too many people still think that we're in a left-right dynamic, and we are not. We are in a freedom versus control dynamic. Exactly. And I know this is a conservative audience, but believe me, there are people on the left who are not woke, who are not about control. They're not woke, they're not corporate, they're not about control. They're left-wing populists, and they share a lot in common with the people in this room. In fact, you could read their stuff. Charlie was saying you could read their stuff, and you would think, what is this? This is Federalist? What am I reading? It's the same points that are being made about these big companies. And so I kind of want to dip, speaking of these kind of, media, these people with clear eyes in media, I want to dip toward Andrew Breitbart. Maybe funny for a liberal to do, right? And so I'm going to dip toward Andrew Breitbart a minute. And he famously remarked, and this is my area of expertise, is reading critical theory. He read those literally neo-Marxist scholars, and he came out and he said, politics is downstream from culture. Yes. And what you have to understand is that culture is downstream from information. It's downstream from education, and the left, a very radical segment of the left that is all about control on that freedom control axis, a very radical segment of the left owns education. They own all of it. Somebody asked me the other day, and I know there's people in the room that'll get a little upset, they said, can you give me a list of colleges that are not woke? And I said, yeah, here's the whole list. That's it. That's it. And it's in our K through 12. It's in P through 20 if you know the educational stuff. Preschool, anti-racist baby. They're teaching this mentality, this control mentality, all the way down. So if you have an entity like Google that can shut down the Federalist, or that can censor your YouTube videos, or you have a community policy at Facebook or Twitter that can silence certain voices selectively, they change the information space. If our universities and our schools are owned by one political faction, you have to get your education somewhere else. And that education leads to culture, leads to politics. And so you have to fight for your ability to have free speech and free thought, cognitive liberty, if you want to be able to become educated and thus affect culture and thus affect politics.
So let me ask you a question. It's wonderfully said. And so I'm starting to see more and more liberals, for example, like Glenn Greenwald, for example, and others who have a lot of integrity. And I agree with Glenn on very little politically, but I think we can all agree he has been heroic in the last couple months, speaking out against some of the most powerful kind of, I call these pseudo-journalistic forces. And he's been very clear on kind of the corporate dominance that's happening in our country. And one thing I've been surprised about, and maybe you can help us unpack this, James, is that all of a sudden the conservative right, they're becoming more critical of kind of corporate America than even Democrats are. Now, that's not to say that that conservatives are in just kind of the normal dynamics shouldn't be. I think it's actually super healthy. It just seems that Democrats are now a little bit more comfortable. I hate to frame it in those terms, because some of them feel as if the tech companies are doing their bidding, as if they're gaining a political advantage from this. Do you see it that way, or do you see that some of the silence on, not silence, but do you see that some people on the Democrat liberal left, I'm trying to find the correct term for it, but you know what I'm saying, would be, they're okay with some of the deplatforming and stuff that we've been seeing?
The left is a lot more sympathetic to this level of control than the right. So we were joking a little bit backstage, actually, and we were commenting about how it's funny that there's this alignment happening between these classical liberals on the left and then the classical liberals on the right. That, again, that's that freedom part of the freedom control axis. We were joking, and I even said, if speaking as a liberal, it's because you're right. So the conservatives are ahead of the curve on this. Not all of them, but they're ahead of the curves on this. They are waking up faster. The left is generally more afraid to insult people, to hurt people's feelings. They're more taken by the woke ideology. They're more concerned with therefore stamping out whatever can be designated hate speech. They're also more concerned with maintaining their political power by casting that which conservatives say as illegitimate or backwards and in support of the status quo, which is nonsense.
So Jack, you and I have talked a lot about this issue of big tech censorship. You've been covering this for a while. Do you believe it's time to break up the tech companies? And if so, what do you have to say to any Republicans that think that we shouldn't do that?
I would say, folks, it's time to embrace our Teddy Roosevelt, our inner Teddy Roosevelt. We are going to break them up. And if Teddy Roosevelt, by the way, right, bully! Look, if you're a Republican and you're saying, hey, I think Teddy Roosevelt was a little bit too liberal, but you may want to check yourself a little bit right there. Teddy Roosevelt was about as conservative as you can get. And by the way, it was Ronald Reagan that broke up Bell Atlantic as well. Look, this conservatism does not mean corporatism. It certainly doesn't mean woke capital. Conservatism means respecting our heritage of rights and freedoms. Freedom of speech isn't just the First Amendment, it is our first freedom, the same way that freedom of religion is, and the same way our Second Amendment is, right? This isn't just freedom from government. And as we've grown up as young conservatives, and now, kind of getting to more like adult conservatives, I guess, I mean, I got 2 kids now, right? That it's not just the government that's trying to restrict our freedoms. Let's face it, folks, Google has more power over your day-to-day life than the government does. They do, and it's completely unchecked. And we're going to do something about that because we have laws in this country for a reason. We are going to hold them to that. And when we find out, and this is what the Texas lawsuit is about, Ken Paxton is 100% right on this, when Google and Facebook are making secret deals to collude, to obstruct competition, to restrict competition in the marketplace, This is price fixing, this is a cartel, and it is illegal in the United States of America.
It's well said. So, Sean, let's get a little wonky, if that's okay. Let's get into some of the policy of this. There's a lot of people that talk about Section 230, the Communications Decency Act. Some people talk about the Federal Trade Commission. If we agree these companies are too powerful and, dare I say, they pose an existential threat, and I've said this, and this drives the media nuts, so I'm going to say it again, that the tech companies pose an exponentially greater existential threat to our country than climate change does, and it drives them nuts, and it's true. And so, climate change. And so, the talk about what can actually be done. These lawsuits, the changes, let's get into the policy weeds of it.
Right, so real quick, who here is familiar with Section 230? Pretty good number there. Okay, so for those who are not, the Communications Decency Act was a law that was passed a while ago to make it easier, kind of before the big broadband internet area, for internet companies and internet service providers to get up and started so people could have internet access. And they wrote into that law in Section 230 that they would give safe harbor to these internet providers so that they couldn't be sued for libel if somebody who, say, used AOL got on the internet using AOL and said something that wasn't true about someone else. And it also gave these ISPs the power to ban things like pornography and sex trafficking and that kind of stuff. They wanted to make sure that these companies couldn't get sued for banning illegal content. Now, fast forward 20 or 30 years, and that's been turned by the courts, by the way, not by Congress or a legislature. It's been turned by courts really into a get-out-of-jail-free card for anything that tech companies want to do. It was really instituted to protect ISPs, and now it's being used to protect people who are censoring speech. And so the analogy I would give is imagine you had a company that owned all the roads, and then it also manufactured the tires for all the cars. It made all the cars. By the way, it was able to extract and refine all of the gasoline. It made the seat belts, it made the seats in the cars, and then that company, who has monopoly power over all those different means of transportation, said, you know what, I don't really think I want you going to church. I don't really think I want you going to work. So, yeah, you can't use my car or my road or my gas or my tires or my seats or my seat belts to go anywhere you want. And, I mean, I'm a company and I'm capitalist, and if you say that's bad, then you're a bad capitalist. So I say that's nonsense. And what you have with these companies, especially like Google, which controls how you get on the internet through fiber, how you access web pages through Chrome, it's on your phone through Android, it controls the search market, it controls the ad market. It has total monopolistic control over most everything you do on the internet. That's bad. That needs to be taken away. And I don't care if you break them up or if you regulate them or you destroy them. I really don't care at this point. They're a threat to American freedom and a threat to our constitutional rights. And so whether it's through Section 230 reform, which honestly I think had they been willing to play ball a couple years ago, they might have gotten away with just Section 230 reform, having that safe harbor taken away. We're so far past that point now. We are so far past that. It's break them up or destroy them. Those are the choices now.
Yes. And so I want to ask another question, Sean, which is, and I think the Federalist did some stories on this, where can you talk about how some of these tech companies are funding some of the conservative think tanks that you and I drive by a lot in Washington, D.C.?
Right. So who here has heard the term grassroots? Grassroots activism. Yeah, those are normal people grown up. Yeah, this is grassroots, doing things that they believe in without much organization. Who here has heard of AstroTurf? Yeah, so AstroTurf is totally manufactured. It's grown from the top down, not grown. It's installed from the top down. It's not grown from the bottom up. What we have in Washington through so many, well, really just about every think tank, every tech-centered organization, they're all AstroTurf. They were all installed by big money. They were all funded by big tech, by Google, by Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon. And they will go and they'll pretend to be on the right. Oh, I'm conservative. I'm Mr. Tech Expert, and I'm conservative. And I'm telling you, you're a bad conservative if you want to regulate these companies who are trying to stifle your free speech. And it's like so much of what happens in Washington, it is completely fake. They are representing the institutions that fund them. And as James said at the beginning, what we're in now isn't really a left-right kind of world or polarization anymore. It's institutionalists versus populists. And if you start to look at things through that frame, you start to see which institutions are kind of pulling the strings in these different debates. And on tech policy, the big tech giants are pulling the strings to protect their institutions.
Yeah, there is no argument to not challenge these tech companies, regulate them, use the word destroy them, whatever. I'm game for all of it. Like, whatever, put it all on the table and we'll figure it out, unless you have some form of a capital flow coming from Menlo Park. Like, there's no honest observer that can say, you know what, I think it's a good thing that one company controls all the search, the video, the email, information processing, behavioral manipulation. One company staffed with people that earn $400,000 a year that only have one ideological viewpoint, and that viewpoint is to shatter our country and to destroy that beautiful flag. And that's basically the viewpoint that Google has. No one can look at that and say, that's a wonderful thing. You could only do that if you hide behind these like ideological euphemisms. And when you look at this just from a very basic, I hate to use this phrase because it's overused, common sense perspective, normal people say no, a company shouldn't be that powerful. A company should not have that kind of capacity to do this, and we've seen the damage they can do. So James, I want to ask you a question in your wheelhouse, because this actually kind of connects with this big tech issue. Because if you say the wrong thing on tech, you could get deplatformed. And if you violate one of the woke 10 commandments, you can absolutely get deplatformed. You have been one of the most thoughtful critics against critical race theory, as I've said. Can you walk us through, because everyone in this room, in high school or college, you are being taught critical race theory through BLM Incorporated. It's all this nonsense that you're being taught. Talk about this from an academic standpoint, or wherever you want to take this, of what exactly are we dealing with here, and then I can connect it to the tech issue, but I really want to give you an opportunity to speak on that.
Anybody here ever heard the words systemic racism? Jack hasn't. He's the only one. No, so if you've heard systemic racism, you've heard critical race theory. And I want to point out, just as, since it kind of connects to what Sean was just saying, I want to point out that critical race theory was born out of a philosophy known as neo-Marxism. The kind of colloquial name, Wikipedia, speaking of tech, has now edited it. You cannot read the original article about cultural Marxism. It is now cultural Marxism conspiracy theory.
Are you serious?
It is gone. It is gone. Yeah, and so cultural Marxism means that you apply Marxian conflict theory to cultural issues instead of economic issues. That's all it means. It's a particular idea of Marx. So we are in the midst of seeing a mainlining of a neo-Marxist, therefore Marxist ideology. And so when we had this conversation just a second ago about AstroTurf, AstroTurf is how you construct what Marxists call a sham opposition. That's the technical name for that. People who look like they're conservative or they're opposed to whatever the new Marxist plan is, but they don't actually do anything about it. And you pay them through the nose. A lot of people think poor people, working class, that's Marxism. No, it is a champagne drinker's game. It is a very expensive game. And so critical race theory is a way of thinking about the world. Now that you know it's neo-Marxist, its objective is to use Marx, to use race, I should say, to break up Western societies, to break up the unity, to make it so that you can't feel comfortable being friends with people who look different than you do, to dredge up the resentments, to dredge up the ressentiment in French of the race issues that have plagued this country's history, that were systemic 200 years ago, that were systemic 70 years ago, and to make it as if they are still a system that is operating to control everybody's life. So systemic racism means critical race theory. It begins, we don't have to go into all the details, but it begins with a couple of things I want to point out, just to let you know how far off from America it is. Donald Trump wrote an executive order, or issued an executive order, banning certain teachings out of critical race theory, and he said that one of the reasons it was un-American, and he got pushed back hard on this, and it is un-American. This is as close as I can do it from memory, a quote from the book titled Critical Race Theory. And the authors, Delgado and Stefanchik, write, as opposed to, or unlike traditional civil rights discourse, critical race theory begins by questioning the fundamental tenets of the liberal order, including equality theory, legal reasoning, enlightenment, rationalism, and the neutral principles of constitutional law. That's on page 3 of a book titled Critical Race Theory. It begins by questioning the principles of constitutional law, which is what America is, a constitutional republic, not a democracy.
Exactly right. Well put. Good for him.
The second thing you need to know about critical race theory is that it begins with the first assumption of critical race theory, which is that racism is the ordinary state of affairs in society. It is not an aberration from those affairs. Therefore, as it has been distilled down by a much more famous later thinker, Robin DiAngelo, who wrote White Fragility, boo, yeah, seriously boo. You're being taught this. She boiled it down to the question is no longer did racism take place, it is how did racism manifest in this situation. It assumes that racism is there and it hires people through diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging initiatives to find that racism wherever it's hidden using a tool called critical race theory. It is the tool to find the racism it assumes is between every one of your friendships, between your relationship, between yourself and your professors or your teachers, in the fundamental workings of your institution and your state, your government, and every bit of our system, including the election, including COVID. Racism is a public health threat. Now, what did we just have? Did you see the other day? We just had an ethicist from the University of Pennsylvania come out and say that we can't prioritize people over 65 for this vaccine because they skew white. We have to level the playing field. Level the playing field by letting old white people die, is what he literally said. This is an ethicist at the University of Pennsylvania. So that's what this is about.
I hope everyone was listening to what he just said carefully. There's so much wisdom in that none of your universities will ever touch what he just said. Because what he just talked about is if we don't get this right and we don't confront critical race theory and this woke nonsense, everything else basically falls apart. So super quick, and I want to get a question to Jack and then back to Sean. What has been your experience as a liberal, you called yourself socially liberal, speaking out against critical race theory and wokeism? I think it's super instructive for our audience to hear this.
The simplest thing I can say is I used to meet friends when I had them still. And because I've lost most of my friends on the left. Most of my family on the left doesn't speak to me anymore.
You have new friends, though.
I have new friends. Thank you. Hi. I appreciate every one of you. They'd say, what happened to you today? What's going on today? And I said, I got called a racist on social media 500 times today. And they're like, did that hurt your feelings? And it's like this whole thing. They're just traumatized. I get called a racist more times than all of you put together, I think, because I tell the truth about critical race theory after reading their books. That's it.
And you deserve to be commended for that. It's terrific. So, Jack, I want to unpack in the couple minutes we have remaining what everyone here can do about tech censorship. This is not a spectator sport. In fact, it takes participation. We talk about migrating to Rumble, to Parler, to other platforms, trying to process your information differently. What can people do in this fight to help challenge these tech giants?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Parler, a huge fan of Rumble. I think these platforms are excellent. I really encourage everybody in here to get on them, to understand that you got to keep safe. But that being said, right, that means that still all of the left and all of the normies are still going to be on those other platforms. So you don't want to run the risk of running into an echo chamber. So we would encourage people to also get their friends on there and everything else. That being said, we need to rethink some of our ideals as conservatives. We need to rethink what it means to stand up for freedom of speech. The Stamp Act. I was talking to Charlie about this backstage. When the Stamp Act was placed during the colonial times, that was basically that I'm boiling it down, I'm oversimplifying, the historians are going to be so mad at me when I say this, but that the government, right, the crown, had to place their stamp on anything that was published, that you couldn't have something published. So Thomas Paine, Common Sense, the pamphleteers of 1776 and 1775, that was all illegal. They were not legally allowed to do that. So folks, we need to be the pamphleteers of 2020, the pamphleteers of the 21st century, spreading common sense to the people and making sure that our elected leaders, if they say they believe in freedom of speech and they believe in these rights, these inherent rights given by God, first, that is our Declaration of Independence, right? We're going to hold their feet to the fire.
Well, and also, it's well said, Jack. And everyone here, you have to become your own content creator. Don't just be a content consumer. And you might say, I only have a couple hundred followers. It doesn't matter. If you have, a unique take on the news, or you happen to be in a city where something big is happening and you could safely videotape something, then you're able to post that on multiple platforms. Everyone here needs to become content creators. You might say, I have no idea what I'm doing with that. Then just learn from people who already have big followings and then replicate that success and put your own twist on it. Why is that important? If you look at the big tech giants, they're getting in the content creation business. They are funding content creators because the left has no longer, and I don't mean any offense to James here, but I think you'd agree, they're no longer creative. They're not, because they're too worried about being politically correct, and they're in these woke boxes, and best creativity happens when you push boundaries and you're unafraid of being offensive to somebody. That's why conservatives have the greatest opportunity to have things go viral, and that's why we dominate on these tech platforms before they put on all these restrictions. That's why Zuckerberg comes out and he's like, well, even with all these moderations, conservative content does better. Why do you think it does better? Because we're unafraid to say things that might be considered to be a little bit on the edge, and that's the stuff that actually flies, like something that's funny, and that's something that is rooted in comedy or in truth. So everybody here, you should create your own pages and your own capacity, even if it's 500, 600, 700 likes, and you should do it on multiple platforms. And this is where it gets important. If everybody here created Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and a Parler and a Rumble account posting the same thing, it'll be far less likely that the tech giants digitally assassinate all of us at once, because they'll realize that there are other platforms where everyone will migrate to, and the content creators are there, not just the content consumers. You can see that's where their capital flows are going. So, Sean, I want to end with you on this, and can you dive into where you believe where you realistically start to see things going? Because, and also add to that call to action if you agree, and just kind of comment on that. But just talking about where you actually think a year from today will be on tech. Do you think that will be more free, less free? Where do you actually see this going? And then comment on the content creation part on that.
I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. They're feeling their oats now, especially after the election. What they were able to do over the past couple of years, whether it was the Russian hoax, the Covington smear, impeachment, Kavanaugh, all that, and then the election, they successfully shut down millions and millions of people. There's polls that show had people known the truth about what the Biden family was doing in China, they wouldn't have voted for Biden. So right now they're feeling pretty confident. They think they got away with it. They think they pulled the heist off. And so it's going to get worse. The censorship is going to crack down. But I think luckily, at least in Congress, you take Trump out of the equation and kind of just the Trump name, it gets people to do things they wouldn't otherwise do. It makes people on the left completely crazy. You remove him from the equation for a little bit, and suddenly I think you see a lot more unity between the left and the right on the big tech front. So I'm confident in the long run that it's going to be good. But I think the best thing people can do right now is keep talking, keep creating, keep memeing. The mantra I like to use is always be trolling. So just keep doing it. They can shut down some of us. They can't shut down all of us. So don't be afraid to say what you think and say what you believe. If you keep doing that, they can't stop us.
And everyone here, and I know that James O'Keefe was phenomenal earlier, and he said this, if every single person here became your own reporter on campus, I will guarantee you this, there is a national newsworthy story of bias and insanity happening at your university. Go find it. A professor who believes in something absolutely just out of the realm of reason. We have a whole professor watch list for this specific reason, to help make these people very famous, because I think that they deserve that kind of notoriety. But if every one of you become that content creator and you say, I go to Harvard, or I go to Stanford, I go to University of Texas, I go to A&M, and I'm going to all of a sudden say that I am going to expose every piece of bias on this campus. And then all of a sudden you are now a content funnel for the entire world. This room right here has more journalistic power than the New York Times and Washington Post combined. Become citizen journalists, every person. And you might say, I don't know how to do that. Here's how you do it. It's very simple. The next time you see a powerful person that has done something wrong to someone who didn't deserve it, for example, if it's a governor, if it's a mayor, Go take your smartphone and respectfully ask them questions. That's it. You go take your smartphone and you respectfully ask them questions. And you're going to find that they're not used to this, because journalists used to do stuff like this. They used to just walk up to people of power. It might be a university administrator. It might be a professor. It might be, and all of a sudden then, and by the way, we have a great distribution funnel here at Turning Point USA. You guys can always send it to any one of our staff. You guys can always email it to our podcast, freedom@charliekirk.com, and we will all of a sudden see one of you go up to Governor Whitmer or Governor Cuomo, and you ask Governor Whitmer, why is it that your husband can go boating and say, don't you know who I am, but the entire state continues to be shut down? Powerful people will continue to do what they do until they're challenged by people who want to keep their freedoms preserved. And that's exactly the same when it comes to the tech fight. All right, everybody, let's get up for this amazing panel. Thank you guys so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Dan Bongino.
Buddy, what is it? What's up? How y'all doing? So you're welcome. Legend. Call me a legend. This speech better be really good if I'm a legend. Thank you. I was just talking on the panel. That was a killer panel backstage. And thank you in advance. I know they mentioned Parler and Rumble. I know many of you know I had a role in that, but I appreciate everyone who signed on. Screw these big tech assholes. Pardon my language. We can do it too. We can do it too. Hey, before I start my speech today, forgive me, there's a lot going on, obviously, in my life. I promised Charlie I would come out, and you never want to break a promise to Charlie or Benny, and it really meant a lot to me to come out and talk to you all, because before I get started, I want to express, and I really mean this from the bottom of my heart, my sincere, deep gratitude to what you're doing. It's hard to be you right now. When I grew up and went to college, I got in 1992, 1993. It was never easy to be a conservative on a college campus, as you can imagine. But I can tell you with purity of soul here that it was never as hard as it is now for you. You've got a lot of guts, every one of you in this room. You do. I mean it. You have my absolute respect. I mean, to go on these college campuses now, the peer pressure to conform and be lemmings and just walk off the cliff of liberal stupidity and ignore the obvious, the pressure has to be overwhelming. And the fact that you not only flip them the double-barreled, if you watch my show, I won't use the middle finger, but you get the hint. If you flip them the double barrel and you not only speak out for what you believe in, but you show up here, you really have my admiration. I mean, what happened to the left? What happened to them? No, thank you. Well, thank you. What? Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you. Stop. You're gonna make me cry. I got a thin skin. Don't let my 6 foot, 200-pound frame fool you. I will cry at a heart. I'm like the John Boehner of conservative Republicans. I'm not kidding. I love you too. When I went to college, I used to listen to even these lefty bands, and they've abandoned us with civil liberties. They are now, you have to understand this, full-time anti-civil liberties, anti-free speech activists. They want to beat the snot out of you if you assemble with their Antifa, BLM, thugs on the street, beating the crap out of people. You go to church, they want your church banned. I mean, these are your actual God-given civil liberties. They stick a boot on it, and they do it in front of your face. They want you banned from big tech. They want you shut up. And what happened to the left? listen, for all our disagreements with the left, when I grew up, I listened to Rage Against the Machine. It doesn't get any more lefty than those guys, Tom Morello. They're like socialists. And you know what one of their lines was? Don't ever forget this. I'll try not to curse again. Sorry, young kids, I'm sorry. But I come from New York. But one of the lines in one of their songs, I'll just say, it said, screw you, I won't do, but that wasn't the word they used, but I won't do what you told me. Screw you, I won't do what you told me. Screw you, I won't do what you told me. That was the left, these anti-authoritarians, and now they're the authoritarians. They want to shut you up, and you had the guts to come out here tonight. And I love you for it, every one of you. You guys are awesome. All right, now that I got that out of the way, because you really do have my admiration, you're on the right side of this. I hope you understand in this fight, when you're on these campuses, that you are absolutely 100% on the right side of this fight. Every one of you in this room is a champion of big R God-given rights for everyone out there. But listen, that's easy to say, right? Anybody can talk in flowery BS and get up here and make a nice, cute speech. But the bottom line is talking about big R God-given rights and what you represented by showing up here tonight and knowing you're on the right side of it are two different things. I want to ask you in this room, I'm not messing with you. Are you absolutely convinced? Think about it. Don't just reflexively respond. Are you absolutely convinced that you are here for the right reasons, that economic liberty, healthcare liberty, school choice, and educational liberty, that the right to speak and the Bill of Rights, the right to assemble and practice your religion, are you absolutely convinced that's the right thing? 100%. Any objections? Raise your hand. Any objections in this room? Okay, not me either. I know I'm on the right side of this darn argument. I know it, and I've known it since I'm a kid. Think about it, right, on the economic liberty front. I don't know how many of you listen to my show ever, but thank you. Thank you. I play, I wish I had the Kenny. I should have brought the Kenny Bell, right? I play a lot of clips of the great Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell. No one explained it better than Milton Friedman, right? Economic liberty matters, but it's not, again, it's not a tweet, it's not a parlay, it's not a Rumble video. Economic liberty is a real thing, man. It's got juice, it's got meat, it's got muscle behind it, and it's right. It's right for simple reasons. What the hell does the government know about spending money you worked for? Anyone? Anyone? Does anyone have an answer? How do they know more than you about that? They don't know squat. Listen, I love my Secret Service friends in the government, but a lot of the bureaucrats I ran into outside of the Secret Service were really not that bright. That's why they were in government. They'd be out doing other stuff that's value added otherwise. Some of them found a hole over there, and now they take your money, they take a cut, they spend it on other people, and they don't know anything about your wants, desires, or needs, no less those of your family. I'm telling you this because you're right. You're on these college campuses arguing against idiocy, and you're brave in doing it because there's this tidal wave of stupidity for you to support socialism, and the basic idea of it is just stupid. It's just dumb. Think about it, right? Milton Friedman, him and Sowell, I love him. He always said the 4 ways to spend money, right? You don't need to know anything else about how absurd giving your money to the government to spend on someone else is if you understand Friedman's 4 ways to spend money. It's genius. Take it, memorize it, watch it, go to Rumble, put in a video, put Milton Friedman's 4 ways to spend money. Watch it. It's on my show last week. He says, like, what's the first way, right? The most efficient way to spend money. You spend your own money on yourself. Well, why is that efficient? Because cost and quality matter. It's your money. You earned it. So what you're buying matters. You care about the cost, and the quality matters too. Why? Common sense. Why does it matter? Because you're buying something for yourself. You're not going to buy garbage. That's why economic liberty works. But it's not just enough to know that economic freedom and liberty work. You have to understand why the lack of economic liberty doesn't work. What's the second way to spend money? Even worse than terrible, terrible. It's you spending your money on other people. Cost matters, you're buying someone a gift, right? But does the quality matter? What do you care? If the gift breaks in a year, it ain't your problem. So it's not as good as you spend the money on yourself. What's the third way to spend money? Other people spending other people's money on themselves. Someone takes your money, you get an expense account. Does the cost matter? It ain't your money, it's yours. I want the nicest hotel room in the world if you're paying. So the quality matters, but the cost doesn't mean squat. What's the fourth and single worst way to spend money anywhere? Bingo! Other people spending other people's money on other people. The cost doesn't mean squat because it ain't your money. And the quality doesn't mean squat either because you're not even buying anything for yourself. That's the government. That's socialism in a package right there. It sucks. It'll never work because it can't work, ever. It won't work because it can't. It can't work. It defies every single human instinct you have right now. And you have to argue about it on college campuses all the time and in your high schools. You got a lot of guts doing it. You do. Because you know by instinct, by common sense, and because you're smarter than your leftist friends who've never had to have a real argument in their lives, you know you're right. But think about that argument with healthcare liberty too. These are real things, man. Again, you got to put meat on the bone. It's not just, healthcare liberty, great, let's write a few tweets. No, what does that really mean? Why would you think that most of Americans, if you asked them a poll, right, and you said to them, do you enjoy going to the Department of Motor Vehicles? What would you guess somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% of people be like, that really sucks? Would that be, wouldn't be a crazy statement, right? So, why? I gotta be honest, my Department of Vehicle in my county, we got a pretty good local government. They're not bad. I don't love the experience, but it's not terrible. But why does it stink so bad? Because it's, again, other people spending other people's money on employees working for other people. So just to be clear with healthcare liberty and why this matters and why economic freedom, economic liberty and healthcare liberty, why you're on the right side of this matters in these fights going forward. You don't like going to the DMV, but you're A-okay with paying some government bureaucrat to crack your chest open? Don't give me my license, but definitely clear up this cardiac event I'm happening. Like, in what world does that make sense? Yes, brother, it doesn't. It never made sense. But it's not just that, again, like, this is the critical part. It's not just what I said to you about economic liberty, that capitalism, freedom, and economic liberty is good. You have to understand why the other options really suck. It's not that they don't work, it's that they genuinely harm people. You ask UK doctors, right? United Kingdom, where they have the NHS, the National Health Service, a single-payer behemoth where the government runs everything. You ask UK doctors, how many of them know a patient that's died on a waiting list due to ration care? Not a joke, I'm not making this up. I never make stuff up. 5% of them will openly admit to it and tell you yes. That's the ones that admit to it. So just to be clear what we're saying here, in a government-rationed healthcare system, because you can only ration or price something, right? Anyone have a third way to allocate scarce resources? And you win the Nobel Prize for economics. You can either price the speaker or ration it. What's the other way? There isn't another way. You can either ration healthcare or you can price it. When you ration it, 5 out of 100 doctors in the UK admit to knowing a man or woman that's dead because of their rationing. And we're supposed to applaud this? And with these kids on these college campuses who don't understand any better, and in high school you have to argue with them every day, and the answer is yes, you have to. Yes, and it really stinks. I get it. I understand. I get the nasty grams myself. But like I said to you when I opened up, it was never as bad as it is now. You got a lot of guts. I want to go one more here. about liberty and choices and freedom. These are real things, man. They bleed. They're real. They're touchable, feelable things. They're not just some esoteric idea. School choice. You know, guys, ladies, I was a product of de facto school choice. I grew up in I don't want to say the roughest part of town, but it wasn't the best. The local school by me was PS 68 in Queens, New York. It was a hellhole. It just was. My mom had no money. She worked the checkout counter at the local finest supermarket, which was next door to my house. We lived above a bar in a 2-bedroom apartment for, 6 or 7 of us, depending on who was living with us. The local Catholic school took us in as kind of a charity case. We paid the tuition when we could. When we couldn't, they, let us get to it when we got to it. It was called St. Pancras. School's closed now, sadly, but I'm telling you, with, again, purity of heart here, I would not be in front of you speaking in coherent sentences right now. My life would be totally different if it wasn't for that Catholic school. So, it's true. It's true. So now when you're on campus and you're in high school and you're out there and you're arguing with your friends and you're questioning for a moment, is this fight worth it? I want you to think for a second. Take a breather, because I know it's tough. You have my respect for doing it. I can't say that enough. But I want you to ask, who's really fighting for our black and brown sisters and brothers out there? Let me throw you a statistic. Don't ever forget it. We're the ones fighting for them. Us, not the left. They're not doing squat. Matter of fact, they're hurting them. Hurting them. These are our American citizens. They are entitled to the same American dream that got you in this seat right here. The exact same one. Jason Riley wrote this piece, the Wall Street Journal. I read this when I was running for office years ago, and I never forgot it. This number is staggering. That there are 20,000 public high schools in the country. Just 2,000 of those 20,000 produce half of our dropouts. Think about that. Just 2,000 of those schools produce 50% of the dropouts. If you're black, you have a 50% chance of going to one of those schools. That's unforgivable. That's not hyperbolically unforgivable. That is literally unforgivable. You're telling me that the color of your skin has already predetermined in many cases, because no one will fight for your educational opportunity outside of the conservative libertarian right, that the predetermined path of your life, that you have to overcome thousands more obstacles than all of us because someone just won't let you go to a good school? Don't ever for a second, when you waver and you're thinking, is this liberty fight worth it? Am I on the right side of this fight? Don't you ever forget that number. Those are our brothers and sisters. We are on the side of God-given rights. God-given big R rights for everyone, no matter your religion, your race, your sex, your sexual orientation, whatever you want to call it. We are on your side. That is our fight. That's not their fight. They're full of shit. That's not their fight. They are full of it. That's our fight. Every single person in this room, you and you're the ones fighting for that. That's not them. They're full of crap. You think they don't know that number? You think they don't know that statistic? You think they can't Google that or whatever, put it out in the search engine tomorrow and read that? They know what I told you is exactly true, and you know what? They don't care. It's us who care. It's us who care. They want to exchange big R, God-given rights for political rights. Political rights that don't exist. Those political rights create obligations on others. God-given rights are different. Folks, you're in this fight. Listen, I've been through a lot lately. It's been a tough time for me. Most of you know I was diagnosed with cancer recently. It really sucked, to say the least. It wasn't the best day of my life. But, it's one of the reasons I came out today, and I wanted to thank you all. Things look different when you get news like that. I know a lot of you in this room, sadly, have been touched by it. Family members, sadly, some of you here yourselves. Thankfully, it's treatable, and I think I'll be okay. I'm about a month into treatment now. But thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. I haven't missed the show yet, so because I feel like if you're going to do this, I literally have not missed the show yet. You know, if you watch my show, literally is the word I literally hate the most, but that's not figurative. I had this thing cut out of my neck, and we did the show that day. So I had a big 7-centimeter tumor cut out of my neck, and my syndicator was like, "You sure you don't want to take a day off?" I said, "Screw that. We're going back to work." There's no days off. Days off my ass. We got to get to work. But I will say this, and thank God we live in a system that still has some free market health care. Thank God. You know, really, best doctors in the world. But you start to see things different. I think a lot of you will relate to this. Before I understood what type of cancer it was, you start to think the worst. Is it pancreatic? Which is never good. And we were driving home from New York, and I hadn't been diagnosed yet because they didn't get the tumor results back. And I'm with my wife in the car, I live down here in Florida. And, you see things different. You think like when you're 46 like me, you're going to grow old with the trees and everything. I know it sounds weird, but you know there's an expiration date on your life, but nobody here knows what it is. When you think you know what it is, believe me, stuff looks really different. You start to see like this little area near my house I knew they were going to cut down to put like a strip mall or something, and I'd always figured I'd see that. And before I knew what kind of cancer it was, I thought, gosh, like I'm not really attached to that anymore. Your relationship with time is different. I bring that up because it's not some sob story. God has blessed me with so much, and you all have obstacles much greater than mine. God has blessed me with so much. I could die tomorrow a happy man. I mean that. But I will say this. The scare it gave me, your most valuable gift you've been given by anyone, outside of life, your life in general, by the God our Creator, is time. Don't screw it up. You all are young. You have the opportunity to go out there and collect vast troves of opportunities. You collected an opportunity by coming here. The book, The Black Swan, one of the best pieces of advice you'll ever read is collect opportunities, but don't chase trains. Collect every opportunity you can to meet someone, to talk to someone, to seed an idea, to go take an extra class, to read an extra book. Don't waste a moment of your time. You have an expiration date. And one of these days you'll have to come to reckon with that. Don't think because you're young that you can waste the time now. You can't. You're the warriors on the front lines of liberty. You have a fire in your heart so much greater than some of your fellow students out there who don't get that fight because you chose to do something and collect opportunities. But don't chase trains either. Meaning the train gets there at 8 and you got there at 8:01, then damn it, that's your fault and you screwed up. If you're chasing the train, you screwed up. You're in college, you committed to something. Did you not? There's no bailing out. Don't chase that train. The college train you signed up for came at 8 o'clock. Get on the damn train. And you don't get off until the last stop. Time is your most valuable gift. Don't waste a second of it. I'll leave you with this thought. Listen, it's been a rough couple months for all of us, all right? This isn't the time for whining. You want to whine, go somewhere else. That's not this room, but go join the left. They love that. They have focus groups for that. No whine, yeah, that's right. There's no whining. This is the no whine club. This is the no whining. There's no griping, there's no whining, there's no crying. We took a little bit on the chin. There's still some fights going on. I'm not conceding anything, and next week doesn't look good either, personally. I'm not conceding jack squat. You got excited about that. But no matter what happens, it doesn't change a damn thing. This is not a golf game, okay? It's not golf. You know how golf works? Golf, you go to the golf course, you do your thing, whatever. You quit in the middle of the match, nobody cares. Guy gets the green fees, the dude behind you plays through. No one cares. Have a good day. This is not that. I love this guy. This is a boxing match with no time limits and no referee. If you say, it didn't work out like we planned, I'm going to take a year off and I'm going to quit, the other dude is still kicking your ass. There's no stopping him. This is not golf. There's no quitting. He's still hitting you. Do you understand? They don't stop. They don't stop, ever. They will never stop. You have to leave here and remember what I told you from that crazy lefty Rage Against the Machine band when they used to be on the side of anti-authoritarianism. Screw you, I won't do what you told me. Whatever the left wants you to do, don't do it. Talk out, speak out. They don't want you to show up at things like that, show up. They don't want you to vote, vote. They want you to be kicked off Twitter, go on to Parler and double down. They want you to stop talking about politics on campus, talk about it 24 hours a day. Screw you, I won't do what you told me, ever. I won't do what you told me. We will disobey and we will fight for liberty no matter what. I will be there with you in that fight to the end. You've got a heart of stone. I love you all. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.